say, let me just get
I'm saying,
right.
but you was willing to say this first, though. Go ahead, though. Go ahead.
Because I'm not gonna talk about shit I don't know. When we had the conversation earlier, y'all asked a question. Y'all said, "What is it that we can use?" I said, "I am not well versed enough in the conversation to form an argument." I even said, "Then could Reggie come? Maybe Reggie could come here and explain some correlations or whatever." I even went and looked up some, but some things ChatGPT can't answer. But on what I do know, hold on. But what I do know, listen. What I do know though. And y'all can sit up in this motherfucking cap all you want. I know some niggas' grandmothers that had them motherfuckers out there selling drugs. I know some, bro. I know some.
Absolutely.
I know some. So you might not know some, but I do. So when we sit, I'm not gonna sit up here and act like everybody grandmother, they meemaw was like yo meemaw and my meemaw that had us on the right path. Some of them motherfuckers were saying, go get me a lottery ticket and a goddamn old English and get your black ass back in that room when you're done. That was the extent of
Or they was 33 in the club. What the fuck?
So let's not, I'm not you. I just don't do the all. I have one, but I know other people's didn't. The crack era was a motherfucker. Some of these niggas' grandmothers is 17.
Yeah, but I'm talking to 50. I'm talking to 50 and 40-year-old niggas though.
Yeah, 50 and 40-year-old.
I talk to the kids different. I told y'all
but they don't. But the adults don't. I'm with Sister Safa on that. Hold on, listen. I'm with Sister Safa on that piece of the conversation. Once your frontal lobe is fully developed, I ain't really into trying to change your black ass. I'm talking about the kids and the ones that can pay attention. Some of these kids, their grandmothers.
She said once that kid already
Hey, chef, some of these niggas' fates is sealed. It ain't a goddamn thing. Dr. Doom would have to come back to solve. Thanos would have to snap his finger to get some of these life in order. Ain't shit I could do.
Hey, but chef, listen, you got to hear what I'm saying, chef, because I don't think you was here. I don't know if you was here for the whole thing.
Oh man, you can do this again.
I told them because they was pondering. It was a 6-hour endeavor where they was pondering what could possibly logic can use out of Africa, right? So I comes on 6 hours later and say, well, ain't a motherfucking thing he can use, right? I says that quick, right? But they hemming and hawing, right? But then somebody says, well, some people, grandmama ain't shit. Everybody on the panel said, yeah, it is some niggas who, so y'all willing to say folks' grandmamas ain't shit first before you niggas ain't willing to say whether logic can use nothing or shit out of Africa or not. This shit is wild to me, Sheffrin. I don't know. I don't understand it. To me,
and I'm gonna still say,
what y'all don't understand. Listen, this is what you don't understand, Corey.
I don't know what
they can use out of Africa is logic. Logic is the shit they took out of Africa that we using. You are Corey. What about that part of it? You the shit out of Africa. You mother. Now we talking to the 25-year-olds again. You nigga. They took you out of Africa. That's the shit we can use. Your grandmama. You talking about your grandmama? That's where she from too.
I'm saying.
That's that poetry bullshit though. You trying to be all poetic and shit.
That's exactly what it is.
That's that poetry bullshit where you trying to use this beautiful language and we got to get all. Nah, fuck all that. You know what the question is. But for real though, Tuck, you know what the question is. You know what the question is. Don't try to talk around it.
Yeah, because the question is, what can they use?
This is how you are about this stuff.
What can the grandmama use? What can logic use? Yeah, logic came out of Africa.
Let him finish his thought.
That's right.
Let him finish his thought.
That's what he can use. He can use logic. That's what he can do. Use himself out of Africa. That's just a stop in the conversation though. Logic could go to logic. That's Logic's fastball. That's what he go to when we having a conversation. And don't bring up nothing about Africa because that's what he gonna say. He want to say that shit ain't shit. Leave it alone. I wish he would just say that instead of
But I don't want to say that. I actually want the answer to the question.
It's your first time saying that.
I don't want somebody to say that. I would like for somebody to actually give me an answer. That's what I would actually like.
No, you don't.
Yeah, bro, because that gives me more to talk about, motherfucker. I know what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, I know what you're trying to do too.
Done brought logic out.
African shit, yeah, it's the rhetoric in which you talk about it with. It's that the wild Corey do it too. That wild shit over there is what y'all call it. Y'all, you ain't looking for nothing from Africa.
I can't help if I say animal sacrifices if you think that shit is wild. I can't help that. But I think it's wild too, by the way. So yeah, I'm saying it, but right, it's you that's making it wild, right? Like it's not me.
No,
all I said was animal sacrifices.
I'm in Oklahoma. Oklahoma. It's not wild to me. Do it all the time.
Oh, okay,
go fishing and shit all the time.
Be offended.
Sacrifice animals all the time.
You shouldn't be offended then if it ain't wild to you.
No, I'm not offended. It's just the rhetoric in which you talk about it with. I know you don't care. I know a motherfucker can't give you shit from Africa because you American. You are happy with being American. You go as far as capping for niggas that it's they times when it's white people doing shit, but when it's niggas, you don't got no compare. I told you this yesterday. This is the person I was having a conversation with yesterday. I knew when we get back on black shit though, you'll be logic again. No, you back.
We
now.
actually ain't on black shit. We on African shit.
Hold on. What was you saying yesterday?
Oh, I was talking to him when Brennan was having a conversation with him, and he wanted to, he soft shoot for the white perspective, for the white side of it. But now niggas don't get no pass. Niggas don't get nothing. And for logic, he full gas, no brakes for niggas. But the white man get all of the passes. And well, this is what had to happen.
Every
civilization was like this is innate.
I don't trust your memory from 24 hours ago. What did I say today that was something against black people?
I'm saying it right now. If you didn't cut me off, I'm saying it right now. If you didn't cut me off, it's just you can't show me no civilization that didn't do this. When it's white folk, but when it's black people, it's the wildest shit you ever heard in the world. That's what you do. Now, what can Africa do for us? This is you, Logic. I know you. I know your fighting style. This is what you do. It's gonna eventually come back here. I didn't heard Brass tell you that too. It's gonna eventually come back.
Me asking what can I bring from Africa to America is disparaging to African Americans?
It's the same thing as you kowtowing and saying, oh well, I don't see nothing. The whole planet did this, so why is we acting like it's exclusive to white folk? That's what you're doing. You would do that for them. It ain't exclusive. It ain't exclusive when they do it. But
you don't understand the conversation. I would like to talk around that particular point because you don't understand what I'm saying, even though I've said it in front of you several times.
That's your premise. How can we talk around that?
Brendan actually explained it to you last night, and you're not repeating what Brendan said.
If anybody offer you anything other than what you want to hear about some American shit, African shit ain't shit.
Do you have the same opinion about Brendan?
Same opinion about what?
About Brendan? Do you have the same opinion about him? Because he explained to you what I was talking about yesterday. No, he actually explained to you what I was talking about yesterday. How you didn't remember that part?
I don't need to be explained.
I didn't need for it to be cleaned up, but he actually explained to you, no, it's not that, it's this. He's trying to put it into a global context. Like, where does it fit into world history? You're the one making it all about black and white.
He had already said what he said.
No shit, nigga. That's what he told you I was trying to do. You trying to tell me I'm doing something else.
I know what you trying.
I told you I was trying to do that. He told you I was trying to do that, and you're still trying to say I'm doing something else. That's your comprehension.
You soft shoe for them, but niggas can't do no wrong to you.
I feel like you're trolling right now.
I missed that point. I missed that.
I feel like you trolling right now, nigga.
You gotta be trolling, bro.
No, I'm not trolling.
Okay, so
Chuck do be trolling. What he say?
Go ahead,
He's trying to take my argument out of context. But go ahead, Reggie. Go ahead.
I have to leave. So again, I want to
Shut the
apologize.
fuck up. Get the fuck out of here, then.
Yeah, because I normally don't talk to a
Damn.
lot
How
of
you like that? That shit felt good, huh?
no. I want to move past that. Okay, so all right. So let me.
Go
So
ahead,
let
brother
me
Reggie.
spin.
I know you gotta go. Go ahead, brother.
Spin. Spin. I gotta go to
Yeah, you gotta laugh at that
you
shit. All right.
brought it on
Yeah.
yourself, bro.
Yeah.
You brought it
I
on
can
yourself. That shit was completely uncalled for. Completely uncalled for.
myself. I apologize for my
He
language.
apologized, bro. He apologized, so it never
If you
happened.
don't know, Black American industry has to be restarted. We can't rely no longer on what America was in the last 50 years. Every group of people,
Bro,
industry.
you just gonna sit right there.
I don't think
He talking to us?
he talking to somebody else, bro. He ain't talking to.
Oh my
Go
bad.
ahead, bro. Go ahead, Reggie. Go ahead, Reggie.
Black America's has to be restarted. Our industries, right? The way we do things have to be restarted. The whole world is looking at Africa to restart itself. When asking what can we take from Africa is now needing to build trade corridors for Black American industry, right? Investing in entrepreneurship, right? Supporting business development, right? And also making partnerships to access capital that we can't get in the United States for our own businesses. We have to go outside, and what we have to do is look for state or country support, right? So we also have the opportunity to sell our media, right? And the things that we actually manufacture and co-manufacture with African people because at the African continent, because we can't do it within the current system in America. It has changed. If you don't know, with digital currency and all, it's changed in the last 10 years. So everything that we thought we knew, right, is now actually global because the money has gotten global. So why should we wait? Why should we wait? While other groups of people, other states, other countries, other ethnicities get access to Africa because we have found to hate Africa so much because we don't like particular things about Africa, right? So if we're going to revive Black American industry, we're going to have to foster partnerships with the world. But uh, the closest groups that we can foster relationship is people that look like us, and that is from the African continent, right? We will have less partnership with the Indians, the Chinese. I'm talking about Black Americans, but what we need to do is we need to understand the need to re-enter Africa for Black America and for the benefit of Africa, because as they grow strong, we can in fact actually we can actually become stronger. But other groups of people have a head start in this, and we have no start because we are solely dependent on white America. White America is never going to give us a fair shake. I know that there's tremendous problems with Africa. There's xenophobia and a whole host of issues. But the fact of the matter is, just on the basis of needing to restart our industry, we don't have an industry. We are a import country, and we are not smart enough to understand that we could if we're going to import, we can get better deals than in the deals that we are currently getting for raw materials. So it is an economic corridor. You don't have to go after it and deal with the cultural, spiritual. You don't have to do that, but you're anti-African. I don't know if there's an echo. Your anti-Africanness is making you misunderstand the emerging African market that everybody is tapping into. So I'm not saying that if you I'm not saying that you should If you're not culturally connected, that's fine. But culture helps as a conduit. At least you're talking to people that look like you, who don't hate you like the rest of the world has learned to hate you. So, so we have access to sell our media, right? Entertainment, right? We look look at black rappers. They have found out, like Drake and Drake and the rest of them. Africa is an enormous market for their music, where the American market is closed. They sell out their stadiums there, right? So our rappers, our entertainers, right? So they have a place to go to transmit their entertainment, their comedy, all of the things that we can't no longer do in America, because if you looked at those markets, those media markets in America, they've been shut down. There's few black concerts. Rap can't even do a concert in America successfully. The only ones that can do is Beyonce and
Who can't do a concert in America successfully?
it's because you just utter your words. I'm telling you the facts. Look up all the amount of
No, I didn't hear you. You said somebody couldn't do a concert in
right,
America.
because because you're not looking at the market. You don't understand that black
Oh,
entertainment.
you ain't hear.
I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong in a lot of things. Like a lot of concerts by black rap artists don't really fill concert halls as it used to. It's one of the most popular ones who still garner that support. Right? But we also know that a rap artist is not like the Grateful Dead. Like the Grateful Dead album was 40 years ago, but they still tour to sold out markets every day, every year. Black artists is not like that. Because if you have a concert now, if you don't have several different black artists on it, it's not selling out. Only few can do it, like the Beyonce and probably the Drake and probably the Kendrick Lamar, like those and that we can readily name. Those can still full concert halls or stadiums. But the majority of black artists can't full.
Don't nobody even know who the hell he is anymore. I don't know who the hell he's damn
So we've been
is.
shut out. But the fact of the matter is, we realize things are stupid.
They shut themselves out. They shut themselves out.
Yeah.
No. So, see, I like talking to you, Sheffrin. Insurance is too fucking high, right? The promoter cost is too fucking high. The marketing is too high, right? Right? Just to maintain a presence of black folks is dangerous. The security is too goddamn high. But in African countries, entertainers are flooding African countries because the seat and the production money is far fucking cheaper, right? So then with music and entertainment, right? The movie entertainment, right? You can't do shit in America with the movie entertainment for a lot of the creators, right? But those type of things you could go do in other markets. So there is a market. So all I want to do is say your hate for Africa, right? For your particular personal reasons, right? Doesn't make sense when other states, groups, countries are flooding Africa for its resources or even cheaper living in the living that we pay. So we
Who
just,
has hate for Africa?
huh?
Who has
What?
hate for Africa?
Go ahead.
You said it about 5 times now. So I want to know who has hate for Africa? You have been
Who has,
regurgitating a lot.
I don't understand the words, please. What are you saying?
Who
Who has?
has you said your hate for Africa?
Oh
Some
yeah.
Africa
Because this is what the show
who
was
has
found. This was the show on.
no, that wasn't the show. The show wasn't the hate for Africa. The show was what can Africa offer the black Americans?
Yeah, that's a hate for
Thank you,
Africa.
CPs.
Because if you can't come up with a conclusion, that means something is blocking your frontal fucking lobes. Because you're
I
not
don't even
thinking
know if that was the question
economy.
because
What?
I'm not sure
I
that
don't
was
have
the
a
question.
problem. I don't have a
But
problem with if they want to cut us in on some of that cobalt or if they want to buy a rap ticket. I never said don't sell them a rap concert ticket. or don't go over there and get none of that goddamn cobalt. I never said that. They
cobalt.
the
But
question.
Reggie, you really think you explaining this so well to where if I don't agree with you, something wrong with my frontal lobe? For
I didn't say
real?
you
No, I wouldn't even
Not,
go
I mean,
there.
not specifically, but I'm just giving you like that's kind of what you
Why
said,
you
right? Like if I don't,
you making it personal, Logic?
I'm asking you that, like,
Already
do you
apologized.
really mean that? No, I don't got no malice towards you, bro. I already said I don't come on the
Well, then,
internet for no
well, then let's talk it
pissing
back.
contest. That
Well, then, no,
yeah,
no.
I'm literally asking for context on the conversation. I don't have no feelings about you cussing me out.
Okay, well,
I don't. I'm not even on that right now.
good. I'll see it if you send me a cash app.
Nah,
I see
you
how
owe me lunch, motherfucker. I ain't paying you shit till you give me some lunch money at this point. You tripping.
No. The question I'm asking.
Yeah, but see, that's what you gotta see.
Yeah, that's what Africa could. That's what Africa could do for us right now. That's what the fuck
They
they
can
could do.
buy us lunch.
No,
They
no.
That's what
can't.
the
So
fuck they could do.
no,
Africa
but
can
that's
send me a
the fact I'm
cash app.
talking about.
Fucking send us some motherfucking lunch money. That's what the fuck they could
Fact,
do.
I'm talking about. I'm talking
This is
about economies. Black economies in the United States are being shut down in the global market. We have to reinvent ourselves. We have to be able to sell. Black Americans have to be able to sell and buy from other markets, buy at cheaper prices, and sell our goods and services because white America has figured this out. They have attacked our music industry. Yes.
you know what I don't understand.
I don't know that if you don't think black people participate in global trade, or you don't think black people participating in global trade?
No, do we?
Absolutely.
How do we do it?
We participate in global trade every day. Black people
How do
own
we do
businesses
it?
because there's black business owners that get shit shipped from all over, goods and whatever, raw material,
That's fine.
whatever
Name
they
one.
need,
Name one.
threads. I don't know all the businesses.
Okay,
I'm
so
saying
then,
there are black businesses, and that's what they do. How you think
okay,
they get their material?
right. Now, do you think it's conducive to have while we're doing this, because Africa does watch our show, there's Africans on the continent that watch our shows, our diatribe, and I hate, do you think that's conducive to building partnerships?
What's
We
conducive?
don't need them.
What'd you say, Chef?
What is what
We
was?
need them for?
Hold on. What'd you say, Chef?
I said
I
we
mean, they
don't
got some
need them.
cobalt.
Hold
Like
on. Hey, as
We
soon as
need
you
them for
start
that.
talking, let Chef talk for a second.
Go ahead.
You said what?
I said, we don't need them. Like,
We don't need Africa?
well, no, what are they gonna give us? Like, is it gonna be anything worth? Like, are they even in a position to give us anything? I think we be tripping a lot. You feel me? Like,
I think that you be making sense. I already
no, you
said,
think you be making
I
sense.
already said, I gave you points.
Most of
I
the
said
time,
our
the
music
conversation ain't
industry.
even about them giving
I
us
said,
nothing. It's
I
about us
said, no,
giving
no,
them.
no, the back, Chef. So look, these obviously these are my last days on your Discord because I'm making everybody mad. So
No,
Chef,
it
Oh
ain't.
no, we need you to come back tomorrow.
I'm not mad
No,
at
yes,
you.
you're welcome
I'm
here.
mad.
Yeah,
I'm mad.
I welcome you personally. After you done cuss me out, I want to hear
No, but
what you gonna say.
hold on. But let's pull out pause that statement because that's kind of what we was talking about earlier. But Chef had to leave out and do his Jewish tapers or whatever the hell he do. The when he was saying about, he just said we don't need Africa. We don't need them. So just speak
We
to
don't.
that. Yeah, speak to that. That's what he's
When
saying.
the
Just speak
last
to it.
time we needed Africa? Wait. When the last time we needed Africa and they came through in the clutch for us? Or did we figure all our shit out without them?
Brother
I'll
Ray.
wait.
I wouldn't agree with.
Hold
stupid
on. Let Reggie go.
question. Asking a stupid open-ended question. It's just stupid. The world, right? The world is connecting with Africa for its resources. It's
I
totally
said
dependent
us.
on that.
I said us.
When we are us, we are part of America. That is
Now we a part of America. Get the fuck.
No, no, no,
Yeah.
no,
Good
no, no, no.
afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Real quick, real quick. Please follow us on TikTok. The link is in the general chat. We're gonna be streaming live over there and on Twitch and every other place I can get us stream live. But we need
God bless you,
followers,
brother.
so share it. Y'all go over there, subscribe and share it. Thank you.
So you now you see us only as Americans. The
No,
same
you
That's what I
concept.
said
was saying earlier. That's what I
As
was trying
America,
to say earlier. We might as well, the way that everybody was talking, we might as well remove the African and just call us Americans if that's how y'all feel.
and
no.
that's
We
how they.
keep the African to let everybody know that we're descendants of Africans, but we're fully 100% American.
Okay, so but America doesn't think that we fully
Yes,
hoes.
they do. Yes, they do.
America does not feel we're hoes in America. We're free
We what?
labor. We're free labor, exploited labor,
I get
manipulated
paid
labor.
for my labor. I get paid for my labor.
Why you
Can
only
I,
personalize it to you? Why you personalize it to
And
yourself?
everybody else I know get paid for their labor.
Do you get do you get
Oh,
you're in an industry where where most of your customers are black people. So most of your customers, not all your customers, but most of your customers are black people. I'm talking about
right.
people at large. We need to reignite our industries. We need to partner. We need good partners outside of America. America takes a big share of everything that we do. We need to fix that. Otherwise, we're going to be domestic dependent hoes to America, getting the last part of the smallest part of the share when we can figure out ways to get a larger part of the share to reignite our industries. So we consume cosmetics, we consume hair. That's a large part of our industry, right? We but in the corridors in which we sell the music and entertainment and things like and those and media and things like that in education, we have markets outside of America, right, that we can actually sell to, right? And we so if we do not reinvigorate our own industries, right, connecting to Africa and other places, we're going to be left behind because other people are in fact doing it and then reselling it to us as a higher price. So I think it's just smart and logical, right? And we understand global trade and the need for Black Americans to see themselves separate or to see themselves separate in America, who has enormous history of super exploiting us, right? And ending our deals, right? Collapsing our businesses, taking over our businesses, buying our businesses cheap, right? For their benefit. And then we're getting further in despair. So what do we need Africa? Why do we need Africa? The world needs Africa. So, but we should
What we
only
need, what we need right now is to focus on what's going on here in America
Okay.
before we can even do some trade or anything with another country. We need to worry about our children, making sure they can read, make sure we have strong families, making sure our neighborhoods are safe, all that sort of stuff like that. I don't have
Fire.
any time to be worried about what the hell is going on somewhere across the waters. I'm worried about myself, my husband, my children, my mama, my cousins, my street, my city, those type of things. That's what we need to focus on. We can't even do any trade with any countries until we get our shit together here and get some money and some things to be able to trade with. So it feels like you're talking to the wrong people. You
no, I'm
sound like you
actually
should be
talking
talking to.
right to you.
Oh,
This
can
is
I
To the
it.
finish? I've been sitting here
Africans,
listening to this
exactly. To the
Talking to
whole
you
Africans.
because you're
rigmarole
mischaracterizing
for
what
some
I'm
time.
saying.
Now,
Let her
So I'm
finish.
first
talking
of
to
Let
all,
the sister
it
finish.
sounds
man,
like
get our
Let
shit
that sister
together.
have that
we're
church.
having
Let that sister
we're
get it.
having two different conversations. It seems like to me. I've been listening to this for hours now. What you are talking about and what you are proposing sounds like you need to be writing a letter to Oprah, LeBron James, and these type of people. When you're dealing with the regular people that we need to start fixing first. That's what we need to start doing. We need to be working on our families and ourselves, making sure our children can read and comprehend things and do math and stuff before we start worrying about whatever's going on someplace else. And I just want to say that there is too much romanticizing and daydreaming about what Africa or somebody on the continent can do for us. People around the country are looking to see what we can do for them. We need to be worrying about ourselves and accepting our role here in this country and on the globe. We need to worry about ourselves. And if we're going to worry about somebody outside of this country, maybe we can worry about our brothers and sisters that's at least on this side of the hemisphere before we start hopping our asses way over on the other side of the goddamn world. We have Jamaicans, Cubans, all these kind of people like this.
Obviously, you haven't heard what I said, sister.
I heard what you said.
No, you did not. Because everything that you said, first of all, I wrote a paper, Black City Plan. I wrote it.
Yes.
So I do care about Black Americans. You're right. No, not Blueprint for Black Power. I wrote a plan, right? So I do more than just talking. I actually write. And when I talk about things that I have thought about and wrote about. So how's it working for us, Miss Sincere? Of getting ourselves together in Black America. How's it working for us? I think that you're romanticizing.
No, working. I'm not. How can you say
so give me a plan.
That
talk, sister. Show us how to do it. Show us how to do it, sister.
Well, what I can tell you is the first thing that we need to do is worry about ourselves. That's what I'm telling you.
Worry about ourselves, sister.
What do you mean how? Yeah. What do you mean how?
What do you mean how, Reg?
Yeah, what are you talking about how? I just have to be telling you. First of all, we need to make sure our children are educated. That's the first thing. We need to be working with our local politicians and all that sort of stuff like that. There's other things that we need to do here with ourselves.
You unhinged right now, Reggie. Calm down. You unhinged. You listen to a girl.
Now, don't say that, Chef. Don't say that. Don't say that, Chef. But what I'm saying is, I just got you laying out different things we need to be doing. So you're talking about some trade. What do you mean? How?
Can I say something? How's it working? How come we haven't been able to do it if it's so damn simple?
The reason why we haven't been successfully and to a high degree is because of the condition that we are in here. But nobody nowhere else is going to
about the condition. What are you doing about it? Tell us how to do it, Miss Sincere. Tell us one
thing you can start doing. One thing you can start doing, teaching our children about safe sex, family planning, getting a job, a trade, or going to college. We need to keep on doing it. That's what I'm talking about. Instead of you guys worrying about some damn Kemet and all this shit, this is what you need to be doing, is worrying about what's going on here. That's what I'm talking about.
Teach, sister, teach, sister.
But sis, you know what the trick is?
Health problems going on here.
Right, brother.
Don't you think that we need to know about history? Don't you think
we do need to know history?
Yo, hold on. Reggie, everybody, hold on, chill. Y'all gotta let people talk, man. Reggie, hold on. Y'all gotta chill. Listen. Yo, I end the whole shit. Y'all better chill the hell out. Yeah, you gotta let people talk, man. Yo, let me talk.
Yo, ain't nobody talking.
Ain't nobody talking, bro. What are you?
Well, I just decreased.
He got a delay. He here, but nobody's talking.
He listening on YouTube.
Go ahead. Yeah. Reggie, if somebody gave you time to speak, and I'm only speaking to you because Brass gave you time to speak last, pretty much. Please let the young lady speak. Now, if somebody else was shouting down, that's different. But we did set aside time for you, even though you was outnumbered. Let her speak. Let each other speak, please. And you're right, Corey. I'm listening on like 8 devices.
Yeah,
So,
you got a delay.
I'm
You was
setting up like
cussing
8
us out.
things.
We was listening to you patiently
Oh,
at
my
first.
bad,
Yeah,
my
you
bad,
was
my
fussing
bad.
at us for about an extra 5-7
So
seconds.
hold
Dude.
on.
Yeah,
You
I was like,
said,
God damn,
hold on. You
like,
said
shut
I
the
wasn't listening.
fuck up. I'll end this
Yeah,
Well, good.
yeah.
Well, good.
motherfucker. Hey,
It's
go
funny
ahead.
because I'm the only one that heard it 8 times.
Yes,
That's
sir.
so funny. I
I
wanted
My
y'all to hear it
nigga.
8 times.
got you,
That
brother.
motherfucker demand
Go
order.
ahead,
Yeah,
I'll end this
listen, we
motherfucker
were
right now.
streaming live and people can't follow if everybody's yelling and barking over each other. You can carry on a little bit, but let people get their point out a little bit for the audience, please.
Okay.
Thank
No
you.
problem, bro. I
See,
got
those
you.
of
Go
us
ahead.
listening on 8 devices. All right, so later.
Go ahead,
Turn
sis.
one of them off. Turn one, just one.
You got to turn. Go down to 7.
I'm
Just do it,
streaming,
bro.
I'm commenting, I'm doing all type of stuff, bro. I'm trying to
No,
set
I
them all
got
up. So,
you, bro.
I got to
Go
listen
ahead.
to them. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Sister
Go ahead.
Sophie. Finish your shit. Go ahead. Tell us we ain't shit. Go ahead.
No, I didn't say that. What I'm saying is, and the point that I'm trying to make is that we need to be concerned with what's going on here. That's our focus. Our families and our communities and all that stuff like that. Our literacy rates, health literacy, all those sort of things like that. We don't need to be worrying about what's going on over there in Kemet or Ghana or wherever the hell else you want to talk about. That's what we need to be worrying about. Now, when you're talking about building trade and all that stuff like that, like I said, you need to be sending emails since you like to write. You need to send something to LeBron James, Oprah, these sort of folks that got the money and the means to be able to do that sort of thing. But we, the common folks, need to get ourselves together before we can even look to something like that. That's the point that I'm trying to make.
Yeah. First
Can
rule
I
of
say
nature is
something now?
always self
Can
preservation.
I
Go
say
ahead.
something now? When you
Go
think
ahead, Stu, and I'm gonna let
I've
her.
been waiting.
I want to
No,
Go
go
ahead.
after.
Go ahead.
no,
I'm
no,
gonna let
no,
her
no.
respond. Go ahead.
This is what I'm saying. Do we need to trade with Africa? No, we don't. Do we want to? The majority of people would say yes, they don't want to trade with Africa. But even in Africa, most of the resources that we would like is not even owned by those African countries, right? Since lately they're trying to privatize some in Burkina Faso. Mozambique has recently bought De Beers. Mozambique is one of the largest gem producers in the world. Diamonds. They bought De Beers, one of the largest diamond company, decided to sell their shares in the mines in Mozambique back to Mozambique. But that's partially due to artificial grown diamonds taking over the market. Natural diamonds don't command the price they did 20 years ago because lab grown diamonds are now almost indistinguishable and they're minimize the value of real diamonds. But Mozambique decided they want their diamond mine back. But the truth and in fact is that although Reggie's talking about ties with Africa, he knows that most of the resources is not owned by the Africans. They may have gotten independence, but their resources are oftentimes still owned by the colonizers. It is nice to think ideally that yes, we can trade with these people, but Africa don't even have the money to get their own resources off the ground. They have to depend on the European or the Chinese to get access to their own resources. So I
That's
understand
what
what
I'm
you're
talking
saying.
about. We
Let
got
me
to stop
finish,
this
please.
date
Let me
thing.
finish, please. Let me finish, please. So while we can talk micro, because the sister was talking micro and Reggie was talking macro. But probably that's what we want. But this part of it is wishful thinking. Part of it is wishful thinking. Everybody have to fight their own fight. And I don't think that we're at the level yet to even think about international trade negotiation. Because most of the time you still have to negotiate with Western powers, those sprinklers of freedom. Because they own the resources. They own they own the majority of oil in Nigeria. They own access to the cobalt in the Congo. They own the oil in Ethiopia. Most of the resources are primarily owned by outside nations. Go ahead, Rich, if you can disprove that.
Okay, so Stupies, I understand what you're saying, but there's things that we can sell Africa that they need. We are the most industrials, most well trained in technology and medicine. We are. We could sell those services to the continent of Africa. We could sell our entertainment and our media, right, to Africa, right? We need to restart the African American economy. All of this, we need to do this, we need to do that. You could say it 20 times. You could say things like that 20 times. The issue is, how do we do it? So the how is the most important thing, because whatever we're doing right now is not working. It hasn't been working in a while. So then we're in a bubble and we're in a cloud. So we have to be industrious, right? We have to change our paradigm. It's not about, oh, Kemet this and Kemet that. I do teach that, but I teach that for a particular reason, right? To teach people history and to show people structures and systems and forces in history, right? I teach it for that, and to cement the fact that it was Egypt, which is the African society, that gave the whole world writing. We use writing and mathematics. That is something African people gave the whole world that they benefited from. But if you think that you living in America, that by osmosis, the Black Americans are going to go to a higher level when we're overcharged for everything and super exploited, then something is wrong, right? I have to say something is just wrong about how you're thinking. So the African American does have to search for lower prices. They have to look for new corridors to sell for the Black Americans, right? So in that will answer all this, we need to. If you are benefiting financially because of trade and be able to sell services, then that will help Black families on a micro level. Right? Ultimately, we need a bigger plan for not just individual entrepreneurs, but for whole groups of people, right? And so I don't have to drum hard, but if you don't have the answers, and you will only have the we needs. House that we've been needing for a long time since we got here. So, and it hasn't gotten any better. And now it's even more crucial with new technologies that are replacing things as simple as driving car services and stuff like that, right? Factory services like that, right? Delivery services like that. All the industries, the tolls, even the simplest things that we use to get money, right? Those things are out, if you haven't noticed. So our needs are even more. So now we need to worry about Black Americans. Well, that's not the answer. The answer is, how do we worry about Black Americans? So, and if you don't have a plan, I'm close with this, and I gotta go. If you don't have a plan, you can't contribute to a plan. All I'm asking is,
we gotta vote. We gotta go out and vote, Reggie.
It's through legislation that's going to help African Americans.
Yes. Right. So we need
without legislation, I don't even know how to consider Africa.
Right. So those are the things. So the thing is, I'm in agreement, but sometimes we attack people who are what do you call it, pseudo, and we attack people who or snake oil salesmen. When you start saying that, Umar made his whole career on, we need to educate Black boys, not showing us how. We don't need the we need bullshit. We need the how. And I'm gonna have to leave, and I apologize. Listen, I sincerely apologize personally to anybody that I may have offended personally. That was not my that's not what I wanted to do. I just wanted to engage, because I'm just really by myself, maybe Vices with me and maybe one or two people. But at the end of the day, I'm a minority in this shit, right? And so I don't need to offend, but
we ain't lockstep, Reggie.
But that's why we working so hard to give you the floor and let you speak, because we know you outnumbered. But I mean, stop apologizing, bro. You good? Just come back and don't come back unhinged. I mean, you good, big bro.
You make me unhinged. I came on
I
quiet.
like to
No,
apologize.
you 60 years old. I can't make you do nothing.
Oh, I
I can't.
came
Let me
in.
apologize too. I was a little aggressive earlier.
Oh God! Hey,
I
I'm
don't
clutching my
I
want
can't
pearls
make you
over
do
here.
nothing,
Hey
bro.
Corey, I'm clutching. That was so heartwarming. I'm clutching my pearls over here. Y'all just. If there's sometimes in Discord shit happens, y'all wake up. The benefit is if y'all wake up tomorrow and y'all still on that bullshit. Then apologize. We moved on. But don't start clutching your pearls, Corey. I'll lose all faith in humanity if you start doing it.
because Reggie's an elder. He's my elder, and
No, he ain't. But your father and your
raised
mother
to
is your
respect.
elder. I don't abide by that bullshit.
Well, you know,
No, but you
he's
good,
older.
bro. Just
Reggie's
come back, man.
older. That's it.
Yeah.
You
He's just
good.
older.
Just come back.
No, he's not your elder.
I'm saying it. I want to have conversations with you. I'm saying.
Well, today I gave you some of my answers. I'm looking for the how. I'm not looking for the dreamy, mythological. You're sounding like medics or superstitions. We want all of this
Brother
shit.
Reggie,
And we
Brother
I mean,
don't.
but
Reggie,
that's how you sound to me, to be real.
Yeah,
and
but I
that's how
tell
you
you
Can
how.
sound to me.
Hey,
But I tell you
hey,
how.
Yeah, I don't think
I
Reggie's
get in a
How.
word?
hey, brother Reggie, you got to be careful because these niggas will cut you out in your apology, bro. Don't be too nice. Just say your shit. If you got to go somewhere, just
I
go ahead and
can
go.
listen. You're in the dream world. You're talking about the how, right? But if I sit down and ask, well, how are you actually? I don't want the how, but what are you actually doing? What is your life history in working for our people and doing this stuff, right? Study your personal family. Yeah. I'm
Do you want to
stable.
know what I'm doing?
You ain't
I
doing
think
nothing.
that I think that all of us are doing something, and I think that more of us need to be doing things. So I'm an educator. I'm a nurse.
I can't understand that. What are you doing?
Well, I can tell you what I'm doing right now, actually. I'm at my office trying to make sure that some
Because I
people
know
that
it
are
ain't nothing but
underserved
push.
become nurses to try to better their financial status in this
Because
society
I
that we
know
live
it
in.
ain't nothing but push.
That's your job,
So
right?
that's what I'm doing.
Is that your job?
Yes, it's one of my jobs. Yes.
Yeah, outside of your job, because we need to do things outside of our job. So I'm
Outside of
glad
my job,
you
I'm
have a
very
job.
involved with my nieces and nephews, trying to help guide them and make sure their behinds can read and write appropriately. I'm trying to guide them to make sure when they get out of high school, they don't go to college for some nonsense career that's not going to have them able to find a job. There's lots that I'm doing. Like I said, you start with yourself. Many of us need to do that. Then you start with your children, and then you keep on going. That's one of the problems that we have.
We're not
The
doing that.
fundamental problem, we have fundamental problems that I think you're overlooking while you're daydreaming and having wet dreams about doing some damn
Dreams.
trading
Yeah.
someplace.
Birthday cake.
Can I get in a word?
They putting candles on birthday cake.
Hey, Aston B. Hey, let's get Aston B.
Be careful with that. So let me say this. Fine. What you're really doing is your job, and then outside of it, you're taking care of your nuclear and then your extended family. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a people's movement to reinvent ourselves to get us on a better competitive edge, right? So I'm not talking about that. So I'm not having no wet dreams, as you say, right?
Well,
See,
like I said earlier, it seems like we're having two different conversations. Like I said, the conversation that you're having, it seems like you need to be having it with people of some means that can put these things that you're dreaming about, bring them into fruition.
The smartest people I know. I don't agree with them, but
Hold
they
on,
are.
Aston. Let me get to you, Aston. Go ahead, Aston. No, go ahead, Reggie. Finish. Bro. I'm gonna get to you right after them.
I actually gotta go because this thing is gonna. But I appreciate.
I sent you something. I appreciate
Yo,
your time. Make sure you come back, brother.
Yeah, peace.
Yeah, and by the way, you don't really construct something new by trying to retain as much of the old stuff as possible. That's a contradiction.
That's correct. Bye.
All right. How's everybody doing this evening?
Hey, it was crazy in here. It was
I'm gonna
crazy
keep
in
it
here.
brief. I'm gonna keep it brief. I agree with the sis. We have to start here And a lot of what Reggie is talking about this and international trade and working with Africa, those type of things are post reparations discussions. And to really understand why they are post reparations discussions, you have to look at the actual data in regards to wealth inequality, in America, particularly Black America. So right now, 2025, the median household net worth of Black America is $1,500. So half of us are under that and half of us are over that. When the median is 1,500 as a group, you're not doing nothing internationally. You know, a high percent, something like over 95%, it's close to 97. And this is a pre-pandemic number. 97% or more of Black business is sole proprietor grossing under $25,000 a year. So it's all these, a whole bunch of people with little side hustles. When you look at the numbers of our actual business assets, corporate assets, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, pensions, housing, and you count it in the trillions, it's small, it's minuscule. And if you compare that with what other people have, white people have more in durable goods like radios and cell phones and couches than everything that we own altogether combined. And so when you look at this data of where we are financially, and you look at the business data of, you know, what we do have and how small our businesses are, you sort of understand how all that other stuff is like, it's a dream, it's a joke. And if you don't make decisions based on actual data, you're just out here willy-nilly thinking you can, you know, we got $4 trillion of spending power, not looking at the data on what we spend that on. And most of it is necessities like housing and food and transportation and insurance. And so a lot of what people are saying is old information and they are not up to date, is not a data centric approach to fixing problems. It's just old tropes, most of it surrounding like Pan-Africanism and we can work with Africa. Africa is not trying to work with itself. We have problems over here we need to fix. We have legislation we need to get passed. We have issues in our homes and our communities that we need to fix before we can even attempt working with anybody anywhere else. It's like you on a plane and the oxygen drop, you got to put yours on yourself before you give it to the baby. So I'll leave it at that. And yeah, everybody should work with their family, contribute to a local charity, and preferably join a dues paying political organization. Thank you.
And let the church say amen to that.
I find the irony of like when we ask ourselves like what do we need to do as Americans to improve our situation in America, the answer be straightforward and real simple. Like when I ask the African, you start getting concepts, ideological frameworks, and possibilities, but not necessarily like this decisive answer when we're talking about our situation in America. It's like to me that's actually telling. To me, and I try to read into things, and I could be wrong, but it actually says that there isn't like some unified front as far as why we need it, and there's just like a collective attitude that we need it, and we buy into like the collective attitude without investigating, asking some more further questions. We just kind of go along with it from what I can tell, because every time we ask somebody, they kind of take them a while. They got to put it together, rationalize it.
And when we're talking about some basic fundamental things that we need to learn how to do before you even go into business with other people, You need to first make sure you know how to read and understand contracts and all that different stuff like that. You have some of our people that get finessed every day right here in this country from different fraudsters and all this type of stuff. Just thinking about this community that we're talking about, people writing fake books. You got people doing all sort of crazy stuff. So how are you going to go somewhere else and be able to not get finessed or become a victim in some sort of a thing you're trying to do? It just doesn't make any sense. We need to worry about, like I said, ourselves, and we just need to get that through our heads.
Go ahead, Corey.
And I want to go back to this grandmother thing too. I'm sorry to cut you guys off. This is going to be the last thing that I'm going to say. When we're talking about the grandmas, I just want to put my 2 cents in and say that the grandmas in the African American community is the most influential person that we have. And, that's just that.
I really appreciate you bringing us back down to earth. So it's because we was floating away. It was a lot of floating away earlier. And Granny didn't stand a chance earlier. But yeah, I definitely appreciate you saying grandmamas is some of the most influential people in our community still to this day. Still to this day. You know what I mean?
Actually, if you're around, please join. But you're absolutely right, because we talked earlier about losing yourself, right? So think about the the self that you're losing by not listening to your grandma, right? So I'm gonna hold right whatever this African stuff is above my grandma, and she is the one over here immediately experiencing all this and everything. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a large portion of kind of of what's actually being said, is that over here is a better way, right? My grandma really don't know enough. She ain't been educated enough, so on and so forth. So I gotta get this highfalutin language that I end up calling poetic on how we actually go about this. And you end up co-opting ideas like we need to build Africa just to build African Americans, right? That, to me, that's almost losing. That's a bit of losing yourself, because ain't nobody in your immediate. I ain't gonna say nobody, but for the most part, most people's experiences, their immediate circle ain't telling them to do that. They just like how you said, grandma telling you just what you said. That's what your immediate circle most times is telling people. Most people ain't having no Pan-African experience.
I think it's childish logic, because it's what kids do. They rebel against Granny and them. Right? You don't want to listen to what Granny and them say. You want to do it your way. You know what I'm saying? That's what kids do. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just a childish thing to me. You know what I mean? Shepard said the other day, he said he want to get people back to basic school. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I think about when he say that, right? Your first grade teacher wasn't lying to you. She was trying to teach you arithmetic, bro. Like, she was really trying to teach you that. She wanted you to learn a sentence, how to write different sentences.
Right,
and different
she saw the value. Right.
You know what I mean? She wanted your handwriting that's why she gave you she threw the paper back at you, because your handwriting was atrocious and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, like that's foundational. Granny in the second and third grade teacher that taught you geography. Now you niggas thinking the earth is flat and all this whole wild shit. You see what I'm saying? That your first grade teacher told you. You know what I'm saying? Because you didn't have no idea. It seemed, listen, when you was in kindergarten, this is the funny part, right? With nobody saying, right? When you was in kindergarten, the earth seemed flat. It, by all means, wouldn't it, to a kindergartner? You see what I'm saying?
Right. I can see a kindergartner making a
Now
mistake
you
like
a
that. With your
grown
grown
ass
ass.
man, and you ain't ascertained yet when niggas that's going to first grade, 6-year-olds have established that the earth is round already. See what I'm saying? You are losing yourself, is what you say, but I call it just being childish. Just being childish. You know what I'm saying? That's all that shit is. It ain't nothing no more than that. You know, like I don't give credit where credit ain't due. You know what I'm saying? Because losing yourself is something that I set aside for people who's having psychological issues. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
If you ain't having those psychological issues, I can't place you. I can't give you that leeway to say that you're losing yourself. No, what you're doing is you playing. You playing, and you need to stop. That's what's happening, and niggas need to say that period, point blank. See, and then they'll be all up in arms about it, right? But when you get down, when you boil it all down and cut the bullshit off of it, that's all they doing is playing.
Yeah, they're playing. They're 100% playing. I'm actually starting to kind of come around to like there might be like a level of elitism in that rhetoric too, right? Like to where you feel like since you got some big words and you articulating this particular thing and you feel intellectual when you're saying it, right? But you kind of view yourself as having something that I don't have, right? You feel good about that. And you got this affinity to Africa, and you telling me I need it and all that kind of stuff. I think that there's a level of elitism in it. You know what I'm saying? It is an intellectual endeavor that started in the 60s. You know what I'm saying? African Americans, their reading levels in the 60s wasn't the best. I think that there's a level of elitism in it, to be honest with
you. And even I told you, my granddaddy couldn't read past. He didn't have schooling past third grade. I don't even think he read at a third grade level. You understand what I'm saying? So, like, I see a lot of excuses, right, on the internet. I do, but in real life, Logic, I don't see a lot of excuses in real life.
You see motherfuckers getting up out of bed in the morning, huh?
See, absolutely. And going to get it how they know how to get it.
Right. And
you know
ain't nobody I met in real life will sit there and rattle all of that adversity back to back, right? As if now I ain't supposed to get out of bed, but I'm listening at you. I might as well stay home.
Right. And stop with this victimhood mentality. So we all know that we are deserved and owed reparations, right? We know that. We know that we've been wrong here in this country. We understand all of that. However, some of these black folks, they always come off to me like they have some sort of victimhood thing. Okay, oh, we can't do this, we can't do this. It's just kind of crazy to me. We are here in 2025. There's a lot of things that we can do if we first get down an understanding of some of these fundamental things we need to do. Like I said, learn how to read, learn how to have some work ethic, get your ass up and go get a job. Just learning about yourself. Have some family planning. Stop having 10 baby mamas or 10 baby daddies. There's some of these type of rudimentary things that we need to understand. Sometimes we, like I said, don't get me wrong, we are owed things in this country. We have been done wrong, but sometimes we put ourselves in that victimhood box when we may not necessarily have to be there 24 hours a day.
Right. We do have a justification for some reparations, right? But that doesn't mean that before I get my reparations, I don't got nothing to be proud of in myself. And that it can't mean that. You get what I'm saying? It just means we got more work to do. And in which case we'll always have more work to do, right? So once you get done with all the language of however you want to say it, we will still, like us individually, like we will still have to get our shit together, like to participate in anything. You know what I'm saying? Me and you can't come together if both of us ain't doing nothing, I'm dragging you along. You know what I'm saying? That ain't us doing nothing together. So,
It,
you know, at
it
the
ain't never
end
not
of the
gonna
day,
be
you're
a
gonna
struggle. It ain't never not gonna be a struggle.
never. It's never not
Especially
gonna
if
be.
you look, especially if you look like me.
Yep.
So forget about it.
Yeah,
Forget
you can
about
just. Yeah, you can just.
you
Yeah,
can
I
make
agree.
the
You can
struggle
just
a
end. You
little
can
less.
kill that. It ain't
That's
never
your
gonna
job.
be. Yeah, it
That's
ain't.
our job is to make the struggle slightly less for the folks that's coming behind us. That's what
Yeah,
you do.
it's still gonna be difficult, but yeah, they're gonna have a struggle. Absolutely.
And
Maybe
all we
we
got,
could, maybe we could
all
knock
you got
down some barriers for them on our way out,
doing
but there's
generation after
definitely gonna be a struggle.
generation. You go generation after generation, Logic. You know what I'm saying? Is all you focus on is making the struggle just a little less. That's it. And someday we ain't gonna see it, but someday, right? Things will be in a more on a more equal playing field, right? But right now, right, we got to worry about, like you said, organizing in a workplace, making sure we get some type of healthcare legislation passed, and like I said, educating. And I'm sorry, I got distracted a little bit.
And get involved in your local politics.
Hey, Corey.
Get
Yeah,
involved in your
also,
local politics.
but controlling industries, right?
Corey,
Go ahead.
can we sing? Can we hold hands and sing? Someday, people are ever gonna be undone. Where is the other Corey at? You being too heartwarming, bro. You being
No, I'm not.
way too heartwarming now, bro.
I'm keeping it real though. The sister speak a different language. I know how I can hear the sister. So you know what I mean?
I hear y'all, bro.
Sometimes you got to slow it down a little bit, right? You know what I mean?
All right. Yo, this is the midnight storm then at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Let's have a midnight storm now. Go ahead.
Yeah, so but she kicking some real science though, like, you know what I mean? I mean, I'll say, like I said, through legislation is how you gonna change things. You know how you gonna get more of that immediate thing that we looking for. You know what I'm saying? That's the only way to do it. And so we have to become more involved in our local politics, more involved in national politics, right? Understanding who these candidates is, and not that, oh, the candidate's gonna vote exactly the way I want them to vote or have the exact plan that I want them to have plan, but the candidate that's most closely aligned to the things that the way that I want America to look. You know what I'm saying? So you know, those and again, the organization in the workplace and the controlling industry, right? Dominating industry is more the language that I like to speak. Dominating industry is what we need. But I got a phone call, y'all.
Right, and we got so many. Like, I actually think that Africa rhetoric be a distraction from at least all the stuff that Sister Sansa's talking about, right? Because if I'm focused on how I'm a control a gold or a diamond mine all the way across the world, like how in the hell am I going to do that without some kind of force? You know what I'm saying? How do I maintain a diamond mine across the world without some kind of like police or something? You know what I'm saying? I don't see how you can actually do that. So, you know, I always see the connection as not being realistic without some sort of a military presence from Africa, right? And then, you know, then I would have to ask you, okay, so what do you know, what else is in your plans, right? You're not doing this to secure resources, and you know, I don't believe that. I feel like now that I honestly at this point feel like the conversation just ends. I'm never gonna hear somebody actually just say. I mean, Psycho was brave enough to actually say it. But I don't think I'm gonna hear enough of them actually just say what's really on them. And I think that could be the only thing happening when it takes you 30 minutes to explain to me why we need Africa. You know what I'm saying? Because if it was something direct, like when we asked you, what we can do in America, you gave us very clear points. It didn't require some kind of nuance or explanation. You could just get right to it, right? So I'm really starting to kind of think that, unfortunately, like I'm not hearing you actually just express your real thoughts, and you're trying to dress this up in a way that you think I'm gonna find it out, right? Because the whole time you're just not, with either me or yourself. So.
He's hitting at exploitation. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, go
Yes.
ahead.
Yeah, he's hitting at exploitation. I've been to Africa, and when I come back and I tell people of the business opportunities and things there, even Black people, the first thing they tell me, if I was over there, I'd be alien. See, it is always exploitation. It's always exploitation. If you're talking about doing trade with Africa and you're using Europeans as an example, the profit is there because of exploitation and the slave labor and what they do to the artisanal miners and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You're not going over there getting the coltan. Number one, we ain't even got the money to do that. But even then, exploitation is why the profit is there. And so if you're not going to do that, then it's not a conversation. If you're not going to stick up the Africans for their diamonds or stick up the Ethiopians for their coffee and give them $1 for 50 kilos or whatever, then that question is not a real, it's not a real question. It's like fantasy. Everybody living in a fantasy world. And again,
Right.
this is why I like, you have to use data. You have to use real information to make decisions. You have to know how much stuff it sells. You talk about industry. Industry is not Snoop Dogg selling cereal. Industry is Black people owning millions of acres to sell the wheat to General Mills, right? Or to sell the chickens. We got millions of acres of chicken farms to sell the chicken to Purdue and Hormel. Like, those ships have already sailed because those connections and those deals were made decades and decades and decades ago at a time when we were already locked out. So what you're dealing with right now, you got seeds that were planted during, Reconstruction and Jim Crow. And now they got these big ass trees making all this money. And then here we show up trying, we can just plant. Nah, it's a forest now. You can't just plant no seed. You ain't got the money to plant no seed. Even if you got the idea of Zuckerberg, you don't have his friends and his family's friends. Even if you got the idea and you got the knowledge of Jeff Bezos, your parents can't give you, not loan you, but give you $300,000. Just like, maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't. We don't have it like that. And if you know our wealth levers, we don't have it like that. I can't give nobody $50,000 right now. I mean, I could physically do it, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't do that without that, impacting me financially. Other people, come on. They're getting ready to pass $140 trillion during this next wealth transfer. That's why everything is so high. That's why, rent is $2,500 for 500 square feet. And food is high as hell. And they want you to pay $150,000 for a 4x4 pickup. Y'all ain't noticed? The stuff is not coming down. I'm in Manhattan, and it's loud. But this is what we're working with, and we need some real solutions. And recolonize and exploit Africans is not the way. That's not what I want to hear.
Now, getting back to the pseudos, because that's where we was talking about earlier. And, the pseudos love to give you this pie in the sky type of scenario, this quick fix, or this sort of outrageous sort of solution, instead of staying grounded in reality. And like you said, the data and the facts. But that's one thing I noticed about these pseudos. They try to sell you a dream.
What'd you say, sis? You say they're trying to sell us a dream?
Yes. Did you guys hear anything I said?
It was just the last part. I wanted to make sure I heard that part.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, that's pretty much what I said. Is that one
yeah.
thing you have to watch out with these pseudos is, and a one indication that you're dealing with a pseudo is they always trying to sell you a dream
Mm-hmm.
instead of keeping us grounded in reality. And another thing I'm going to say, I went to Ghana, was it last year or the year before that? And, it was a beautiful experience, right? But, the main thing that I got from that trip was that we are here and this is where we need to, continue to establish ourselves and work on ourselves here. That is one of the main things I got from that trip. And seeing the condition and stuff of the people there and everything, they have their own things to worry about. They don't have anything to offer us. I'm sorry to say that. They don't. So we got to stop with this fantasy that we have. It's almost like a child who their daddy maybe have been out of their life forever and they just have this dream, one of these days I'm going to see my daddy and he's going to be so good, he's going to have all this stuff for me and all this stuff. And maybe your lost daddy is the man under the bridge. He's not coming nowhere no time soon. That's how I feel like sometimes we're talking about our family on the continent. They are in worse shape than us. We need to stop looking over there thinking that something's going to be going on and worry about our own selves. And also, it's good to know about it is in terms of your history, right? We do need to know where we came from, how we got over here, what our people was doing before, colonization and slavery and all that stuff like that. That is wonderful. But that's the extent of it, period. History. That's it, in my opinion.
And if I can add on, one thing you have to notice is the anchoring of identity, right? And so people are putting African issues before their own issues because they think they're African and they anchor themselves on an African identity instead of an American one when they haven't ever been to Africa. They don't have family in Africa. They don't own land in Africa. They don't have mineral rights in Africa. And I've watched online where one guy was talking, this is Wise the Dome, right? He had some clown on there talking about, all we got to do is see. And he was talking about, we don't even need reparations. All the reparations we have is in Africa with the trillions of dollars of mineral wealth. He is thinking like that's his. That's not yours. That's theirs.
That's crazy. That's crazy talk.
But the anchoring, when you anchor yourself as somebody you're not, it makes you think like weird, and your politics is not even anchored where you are. I was having another conversation, with a guy about Pan-African. I was like, well, what has it done for us? And he brought up Burkina Faso and how they came together as Voltron to fight up the French or whatever. I'm like, how does that affect me? So when I asked you a win for me, you brought up some different people halfway across the world because the anchoring is off. And if you don't view yourself as American, then your political solutions will not have an American lens and they won't affect America and you'll just be all off. And sometimes talking to these people, especially the older Pan-Africanists that have invested decades into it, they won't give it up and they won't see it. And they'll be talking about, I'm an African in America, or all we got to do is go back to Africa. Black people couldn't get out of New Orleans during Hurricane Katrina. You think we got money to go to Africa? Don't speak the language, don't know the culture, you ain't got no land, you ain't got nothing, you ain't know nobody. Like, quit playing. And the fantasy is there because that type of fantasy doesn't require action. It's just feel good. And you best believe there are certain people with alphabetical acronyms that are pushing stuff like that. Because if you're doing that and you're dreaming about that, guess what? You're not doing any political work here.
No, I think you touched on an important point that I bring up too, right? It's something that where you can feel like you're participating in something and not really do a goddamn thing.
Well, logic, I wasn't able to speak because I was working. I think the entire fucking conversation is some post-traumatic ass bullshit, to be honest. Um, you know, normal people don't talk like this. I don't know if we understand. Like, people don't organize around no fucking race and unless you the goddamn clan. I heard a group of white people talk about this. I don't know what the fuck I would do. Like, I know I get the fuck out of that area immediately.
You calling a motherfucking airstrike on that bitch.
Like, I swear to God, yo. Like Europe did not come up off of being Europe. Like, I don't know what the fuck we be talking about. So, like, people organize like off of fucking money and attention and shit like that. Like the slave trade wasn't about let's just exploit some niggas. If it was they
Organized
could have
with
exploited.
like
Yeah. And like-minded people. Like if it wasn't us, it would have been someone else. Like I'm not saying the racism don't exist, but I mean, I'm telling you right now what white folks preach. They preach rugged individualism. That's they shit. Rugged, they don't give a fuck what the we is doing. Me and my family, as long as we know we good, then the collective will be good. We there's even competition within that. Like I'm not like looking I, a whole bunch of white people talking about let's go up there and make sure Timmy and Rebecca are okay. What the fuck is doing? You know what I'm saying? Like they collectively come up off of competition. They don't goddamn. I don't know. That's just what I see. It could be. It's just my anecdotal experience. I just know if I heard some white folks talking about we need to unite with Europe here in America.
no, but they
I
do actually do what we said we do earlier, right? They actually favor their own, but within America though. Right?
Yeah.
Like white people don't give a fuck about
Talk
the
about
English.
Europe. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So why is black people not favoring just the black people in America? Why we got to favor and worry about somebody in Africa? No, we just gonna worry about us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you
So
know people
we can practice
like a
our
shortcut.
blackology. Why we gotta practice Afrocentrism when the blackology is more beneficial to it?
I'm with
People like
that
a
too.
shortcut, Corey. People like a shortcut. I think they done preached Africa as a shortcut. Because us over here playing this political game, that would definitely have to be the wrong game.
It's not really a shortcut, or maybe it's a shortcut, but when you get to the thing, it's really a maze, and you just run around in the maze.
It's
looking for a way out.
It's couched as if it's less difficult to unite with Africa than it is to politically make change in America. That's how it's couched.
That's part of the birthday
crazy.
That's how it's
That's
couched.
birthday cake.
That's one of the
birthday
candles
cake,
that they blow a wish on. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the wishes that they wish it was more easier. That's why they say it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's just a bunch of birthday cake, bro.
Y'all know what the fastest growing political organization is right now? Turning Point America.
Turning Point. There we go.
Turning Point. They opening up shit. You laughing? They opening up chapters in every single city.
Yeah. I'm not laughing. I'm laughing to the
that's Charlie Kirk's organization.
Yes, that's
I
Charlie
think
Kirk.
the governor of Oklahoma said it's going to be a Turning Point chapter on every single high school campus.
Jesus Christ.
They talking about legislation. They talking about politics.
And we worried about that.
People worried about Africa. I said, sponsor a child from Africa.
There you go.
Send them $40 a month. Get your letters. You can see the progress. Feel good inside. I'm serious.
Now, wait a minute.
That's a good point. That's a great point.
A lot of those charities are great. I've been in Africa and I've visited some of those charities in person.
Before you do that, I'm quite sure there is a Shaniqua or a Tyrone or somebody on your street or in your community that you can be trying to make sure they are eating.
Absolutely. I agree.
Does anybody want to see what Vallejo Elementary and Vallejo High School look like right now? Look, they look like they're fucking abandoned. You know, like there's plenty of shit that we can do, like right here. Like I don't know what the fuck we're talking about. You know, I don't be getting it.
Brother Mujasa, are you around by any chance? I guess I probably would have came out his mic if he was. Go ahead, man.
No, I was pretty much done. I just that was just my 2 cents. I mean, like I don't have nothing against Africa. It seems like if you just not falling, if you don't want a piece of that birthday cake, then you're against Africa. I don't really agree with that either. I listen, just again, anecdotal. I don't. I'm with Corey. Africa ain't done much for me other than knowing my ancestry. They ain't done much else for me in my life. Especially putting any money in my pocket. If someone can, yeah. So I don't know. You know, I'm just repeating everybody's points at this point. So, yeah, somebody else.
And Logic, yeah, I heard you, brother. I'm listening.
Yeah, man. Okay, if you caught most of what Reggie said, right? So remember we had the conversation earlier about remember the question that we actually had in the chat, right? About what does that African connection look like for African Americans? I'm not remember exactly that's how it worded, but based on what he said, how would you answer that question if you heard what most of it said?
Nah, I didn't really. I was listening to Reggie, but I didn't really catch the direction he was going in. But that's a different conversation than what we was having this morning. That's not the same conversation.
I thought it was a similar enough question to at least incorporate it, but I got you. He might have been touching on some different topics, but yeah. So I guess the reason why I asked you is to maybe see if you found any clarity out of what he said, because I certainly did not. Now, like, okay, it's a different conversation. I'm not trying to like force that particular issue, but if after 39 years of working this particular plan, if you can't articulate it no better than that, like that should be problematic for even you, like not you specifically, but for him trying to describe it, right? Like it should be almost a realization of, well, you know, I'm trying. I understand the pitfalls here, but I'm still trying to hang on to. You know what I'm saying? It sounds more like that than it does. Well, we tried this didn't work, but and then so we started incorporating that, and that worked better. That's not what he's saying.
Yeah, I can't really.
Not saying that. He's definitely got more of that attitude that he's trying to retain as much Africanness as he can, rather than filter through the stuff that we can find useful in our environment today.
Yeah, I can't really speak to Reggie and his perspectives. I've heard him here on the Discord, and I've seen him on a couple of different people's panels on YouTube, but I don't really know. I don't know Brother Reggie, and I respect him, definitely respect him. I don't know his history, and
That's cool. I respect that.
Yeah, it's like I can't speak to his politics, his answers.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. You just said you didn't really hear him. So like, did maybe what I said in our closing arguments maybe resonate with you as far as where you would need I lost some train of thought. Dang. So we were talking about, so when we ended that conversation, we had started talking about the young people connecting with the old people and having, and keeping that vigor for social movement, going and having the ability to kind of guide them per se, right? So using Africa as a guide. Okay, yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Did it resonate with you about the part where I was saying we still need to we still need
we still need to be able to have the proper instructions with that particular message, right? It would still need to have a streamless segue into exactly what we do here in our communities, right? And every time you use the word Africa, it almost kind of separates you from this experience here in America, and mentally kind of transports you to a completely different environment, completely different circumstances, completely different adversities, right? So in the spirit of leaning into African Americans having the ability to come up with solutions in our environment, right, versus retaining some things from our old environment. Have you kind of kicked that around anymore?
Say that last piece again. You said retaining. Like, say that last part
Right.
of the question again.
Remember, I was saying that I'm leaning into the brilliance of African Americans, right? I think that we can give ourselves the tools, still come away with a culture of our own, but not necessarily need to incorporate so much of old world thinking or African thinking into the new solutions, right? Like actually giving ourselves the autonomy to actually say we can look at our environment and be creative enough to come up with solutions. Even the necessary morality to have those solutions around. Am I confusing you?
Yeah, just a little bit. I'm truly trying to process.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right. So earlier we were talking about retaining as much Africanness as possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
While you're retaining something, you kind of really can't come up with something new while attempting to retain as much of this old thing as possible. Because you can't really do both at the same time. You get what I'm saying? So in giving us the autonomy, right, giving us the creative power to look at our scenario and give ourselves the best morality for it, the best culture for it, right, the best ideas for it, when we're attempting to retain as much of this other thinking, you know what I'm saying, other than us in current times, we get away from what we can bring to the table because we're so focused on trying to preserve some of these older ideas.
Yeah. I think I'm better understanding what you're putting up, the question that you're asking. The best way to approach this. I think the challenge is being able to have the language to be able to speak to the retention of those Africanisms. Joseph Holloway, in his book Africanisms in America, will challenge us. And what he'll challenge us on is that he'll say that what you call reformation and what you call adjustment, what you call reinvention, what we call adaptation, and the ability to try to reconstitute ourselves under a different language, a different worldview, different customs, and even to some degree, different beliefs. He will couch that in the similarities of how this same group of people in various forms have done very similar, if not identical things in other parts of the Americas of this so-called New World. And those similarities is what connects us to our ancestral memory and our ancestral practices. That's what he will argue. And I think part of this process is not being fixated on the geography of the identity or the land, or even trying to unearth a conversation with people across the pond, but trying to understand the expressions of who we are here and how that who we are here is a combination of retention and reinvention. Does that make sense?
It
It's like,
it
because I
Absolutely
does
think
not.
part of
in a
your,
way.
I think part
It
of,
makes no sense. It
I
makes
think,
no sense.
okay, Logic, I think part of what you're saying is that
It does in a way.
you're saying that there's a piece of us that if we were fighting to retain, it separates us from trying to reinvent and if we use the term this morning, adapt and assimilate.
Right.
And
Right.
I think,
That's the gist of what I'm saying. Yes.
and I think Joseph Holloway would challenge us to say that we had no choice but to do that. And that was part of the process of our survival, that we've found ways to litigate and make both of those worlds coexist, even though it was difficult and challenging. And some of our earliest sociologists began to identify that and recognize that those was two conflicting awareness existing inside of us. And I think that's kind of how it shows up. That's the complexity around it. And it has to be, if it doesn't make any sense, then I'm gonna blame that on my ability to try to articulate myself in that, because sometimes wrestling with these concepts, I can't always find the words and the definitions to make sense of it.
Let me try to put it in my own words. What you're saying
I haven't read the book.
what you're saying is some of the behaviors that we call adjusting in our daily lives, right, could be looked at under a microscope and maybe be identified with other behaviors that we've seen in Africa, right? Is that more so what you're saying, right?
But not necessarily. Africa is like, it becomes like looking at the amalgamation of the various different groups of peoples that was forced into this prison industrial labor camp that Howard French tends to coin it as, and how that forced us to have to discard and even to some degree forget about some of those customary pieces that exists there and hold on. And like you said earlier, maintain the things that allowed us to survive here. And so I think that's the piece that sometimes, if we don't have the language or if we don't even have the memory no more of how those things shows up, it looks like it's something brand new. And that's what he would challenge us on. It looks like it's something we, invented here, but oftentimes it's a reinvented under a new cloak and a new formation, because it's still spliced with some of that retention.
Right.
You know
Okay.
what?
Go
If
ahead.
I can say one thing, I haven't read the book that you're quoting from, and I think we need new books and new authors that have more concrete, data-based approaches to solutions and not abstract ideas about genetic memory and things like that. Because you're going to have to prove to me, that cultural practices are coming from genetic memory. And even if they are, how does that help improve the material conditions right now in 2025? I don't think it does. And so a lot of what I read, do you remember how the Trump administration banned a whole bunch of buzzwords, leftist buzzwords? I don't know if when you read what was banned, that's exactly what they are. It's just a whole bunch of buzzwords that leftists have been. It's like they just roll the dice and take 3 of these buzzwords and make a sentence. So again, while I haven't read the book, what you was reading, it sounds like gobbledygook that really didn't mean anything. Like, really, ancestral memory? I mean, is this where we're going? Like, I think we need to step away from magic, and I think we need to step away from, just let go and let God. Like, that's that kind of talk. And I don't think that's going to work. I think we need real database approach that deals with health and literacy and wealth and morals and ethics and things like that. All that other stuff is for the
Well,
birds.
I would say that first off, he's right. You can see some behavior, some retention in our behaviors and the ways that we talk. You know, some of that is actually there. You know that and so you were saying that you would need proof of it. I mean that I guess I'm just doubling down on that, and that actually not sounding so far fetched as maybe you're alluding to. But my thing is uh going back even into what you're saying, Mujasi, wouldn't that almost be assuming that whatever culture that came from was fixed and always like that, or did it too, you know, amalgamate to the circumstances around it, right? Was it too a part of adjusting to a new environment at some point? You get what I'm saying? Like at some point, human beings were there long enough to maybe make some of their own adjustments, right? So like even that thing where it came from wouldn't have been fixed and never changing. So organically over time, you might end up with cultures. Yeah, you might have cultures that don't look identical to how they looked 200-300 years ago. So when you look at it from that way, for me, if African Americans come up with their own culture that's more beneficial to them in their new environment, how would it be any different than the organic people coming up with their culture based on their environment?
Ask that question one more time. I'm sorry, I missed it.
Right, I framed it first, right? So I was
Uh,
saying that there seemed there might be an assumption in there that the culture that it originally came from was a fixed thing, like as if it never had some malleability and people never changed it according to their circumstances or their environment. So I'm saying, what would the difference be if African Americans had a malleable culture that adapted to their environment, right? That might have been better suited for what their needs were at the time, not necessarily attempting to adhere to things that weren't necessarily completely relevant to their environment and more just suited to a retention. You get me? So like what would the difference be between this organic new culture and this forced new culture? You're still coming up with a culture suited for your environment.
right, right. And
Right. Mhm.
I think when we mentioned earlier this morning that most of those things that adapted and stayed over in the process of assimilation, it was the things that we needed to grapple and hold on to that was similar in the ways of being that we was able to keep that grounded us in our survival here. And so part of that became like developing a culture that allowed us to exist, coexist, and survive what we was experiencing in the different epochs of United States. And so the eras of United States. And so I think it became kind of like the foundation of how we retained certain experiences. And to what my brother Astaben was saying, I don't know if I use genetic. I think I use just kind of like cultural retention, but how those cultural retentions and how we conducted and did things here is what Joseph Holloway was put in terms practically. And it's a good book. It's a good read. I read it probably like a year and a half, 2 years ago. But the key pieces that I remember him talking about was how many of some of these Bantu words in the languages of different Bantu groups maintained itself in various forms within our language and our vernacular in the United States. Some names that retained and manifested itself and still showed up on plantations and afterwards. Some of the stories that we told, narratives and folklores, and how we sometimes transfer a lot of those stories into some of our narratives that we told our children and passed down to our children, stories that taught us values and and principles on how to conduct ourselves or how to look at the world, and how we end up using a lot of Christian symbols to also maintain some of those stories. He also talked about so he also talked about manifesting, like how it showed up in our religious practice. I think it was him who I remember him saying, I think in chapter 3 of his book, where he talked about many of the customs and practices like the ring shout and certain praise and Holy Ghost was African traditional, expressions cloaked and manifested in Christianity, and how those are retentive practices. Yeah. So his book is grounded.
Let me clarify something.
Okay, and then I'll come back after
he used the word genetic. And since I study genetics, I have an issue with language. So we can talk about how, breakdancing is a cultural retention from Africa, and that's fine. But when you use the word genetic, people take that to mean like there's a genetic variant in us for breakdancing. Right?
Let me interject. Did you say he used the word genetic or I use the word genetic?
When you was quoting from the book, the word genetic came out.
So I said genetic?
Like genetic memory. When you were quoting from the book, it sounds like me, you was reading from ChatGPT, but I don't know.
No. I don't have no device in front of me other than my phone, brother. So I'm sorry. But no, I remember saying like cultural retention, but I don't remember saying the word genetic because I don't think he uses the term genetic.
Genetic memory.
I heard him say cultural. I heard him say cultural.
No.
Yeah, I think I said cultural.
I heard genetic memory. I heard genetic memory. I explicitly
heard
that.
Go ahead.
And that's why I chimed in. Because people will think there's something in our DNA that did it when you talk about genetics. So maybe I have an issue with that language. In regards to the language and stuff, yeah, that's linguistics. Like we know those things to be true. But again, how does that stuff help us improve the material conditions in America? So knowing that we have Africanisms in our language.
So I want to make sure I'm staying grounded in logic's conversation and question, because I think what you're proposing is a different piece, and I'm not making that argument. And part of this is a conversation that me and Brother Logic was extending on from this morning. So I apologize that you don't have the the context of why Logic is bringing this back up and kind of drawing that thread. So it's not a conversation necessarily of trying to make the argument to how does this work to change our material conditions. So it's not.
It was a previous conversation.
I'm not making that argument. Yeah, it's not.
It was a different conversation from what we were having with Reggie.
Yeah.
Understood. I'm always late to the party.
That's okay, brother. I'm glad you're here, though. I'm real glad you're here. Because I'm learning from you. The last piece that I remember him talking about was just how those cultural practices showed up in like our agriculture and the ways that we tilled land, cultivated land, and stuff like that. And so I don't remember, and I could be misquoting his book. I don't have it with me. I don't have no way of getting access to it while I'm at my office. But there was some concrete things that he pulled up in terms of his, I want to say historical and anthropological data that he used, that he drew some similarities in comparison to some of his other colleagues who was doing research study of Africanisms in the Caribbean and South America. So he was drawing some parallel connection in his research to how these same things showed up here in the United States. And so that's it. I mean, and I'm using him as just kind of like a tipping point to answer your question, Logic, that it's how we understand some of those expressions, the things that we probably call Black, that are actually reformatted and kind of like amalgamation between these retentive things and reformulated things. And that's why I was saying from the beginning, it does ask the question of what language are we using and how do we understand what these cultural things look like and how do we make some connections? Because I don't think human beings, even if we go into the theory of the idea of ethnogenesis, I don't know how much a people completely reinvent themselves from the top and bottom. I think we're always building on cultural practices and retentions that come from our previous generations and ancestors, mixed with other cultures that we have connections with at that moment, mixed with our adaptation to that environment. And I'll end there.
You say that, but somebody would have had to invent a culture from scratch, right?
Possibly, yeah. I don't know how far back we have to go.
Definitely, at least somebody would have had to. You know what I'm saying? They would have had to been the first one somewhere, right? It means, so I guess that's what I'm ultimately saying. Whatever that original thing was, returning back to that wouldn't necessarily be our best. It may be one manifestation or one iteration of us, but may not necessarily be best suited for our new environment.
Mm-hmm.
So the things that we even incorporate from the oldest of ourselves would still be subject to that same pruning. I would think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of where we can identify it coming from, which to me basically says that identifying where it comes from isn't, like, almost doesn't even mean, no, it doesn't mean anywhere near as much as how practical it is. If once I've identified it's only useful as far as it's useful. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not that it's to be discarded, but let's not, let's kind of, I guess you would take it in stride, because there'd be nothing left to expound upon. You get me?
Right. Yeah.
Can I ask
You
who the author
would
of that
still
book
have to
was?
add all the useful stuff to it. But go ahead, Ms. Sasha.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to know who the author of that book is that you guys are referring to.
Joseph Holloway. He wrote a book, Africanisms in the U.S. or Africanisms in America. I can't remember the exact title. Joseph Holloway.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
And in Logic, I think you're pointing to something that's accurate. I mean, the idea that culture is dynamic is not theory. That's a fact. And
Right.
cultures change. And human beings, whether it's forced migration involuntarily or not, we always adjust our culture to adapt to the needs and the requirement of our current environment. And one of the things that I've become more aware of is that cultures, when they're interacting or subversive or subordinate to another culture, end up having a two-way exchange between that culture as well. And so the Anglo-African is a real thing. I'm not saying it's a real identity, but it's emblematic of a cultural existence at one point in time, where we've seen those who at one point in time may have been continental in terms of having a generation or two before them that was born in Africa, but yet their existence, it was inside of a British or a colonial life and experience. And so what type of exchange happens when you become Christian and you learn this new language, but you have a grandparent who said that they were born on this continent, and you see other people who's coming from the continent, but yet you don't have that same cultural ground, that same cultural existence as they do. And how do you reposition yourself under this kind of new, different dynamic, different forms of music, different forms of literature, different forms of adapting to the commerce and the market of that space that you're in, like how different forms of even grounding yourself in your values on how you do family. And so, when you're talking about people having to move and shift in different generations to different environments, different polities, different economies, cultures, they adjust and move. And so there was a point in time where quite a few people wouldn't doubt that they were African descendants. And, generations later, we have people who's like, I don't have nothing to do with Africa. That's not me. And that's an identity shift, is a cultural shift, and they both inform each other. They're correlated. And I think there's a lot of conversations we could have about that, and I don't think there's a wrongness to it, but it goes to what I mentioned to you this morning. That's the concerning piece to me about that, is that in that process, of adapting and adjusting and moving, how much do we dissolve ourselves in order to become something else, in order to adapt and survive in something else? That's always going to be that dialectical struggle that I'm concerned with.
The part that's difficult, though, and I do think there's something wrong with it, because that was their whole job. So at some point, we would have to just say, congratulations. You did it. You did it. You took the culture, you took the legacy, you took it, and y'all win now. We're yours. We're this and other. And I understand African American legacy is distinct from an African legacy, but my thing is the reason why it disturbs me is just, it's like, I don't like when we're doing the job of the people that oppressed us, because I know that that's the goal. I know that was the whole point of being able to enslave a people, is you take their legacy, you take their language, you take their culture, you take everything, and then if now in 2025 we got people saying, well, fuck it, we don't need it. I mean, I can see a white supremacist just saying, well, damn, we're done. What else can we do to them?
Right.
Like, us not having a country, maybe at it don't bother me at this point. Us not having a country, because I'm in the second quarter, so I'm focused on my kids now. But the fact that they don't have a language that they can go to, they don't have a quote unquote home they can go to other than the home I created for them. That does bother me sometimes. I told you before, Mujasi, it used to bother me. I'd be around the Hispanics and they could just break out into Spanish and just start speaking Spanish, or Koreans or Haitians and stuff like that, just start speaking their language. Or people in the Dominican Republic saying, I'm going home, but they're going home for real. Like, we're the first person in their family was damn near born. So, I don't know. It just bothers me. But like most conversations in here, I'll get used to this new world order that we in, that we not African.
Right.
But if we're not African, or then that's the other, then I don't think we're African American at this point. But based on what the people in here are saying, we must be just American.
I think so. I think we exist somewhere within the ether of that.
Well, they
reality.
must be American. I ain't letting my
why do I?
Yeah, I'm not letting go of the African American.
I'm not letting
go of identity.
Why do I sense disappointment in the statement? Well, I guess we just Americans.
No, because like the illustrious brother Corey said, y'all have not raised my self-esteem not one piece. I thought I was going to listen, and I thought I would hear something that would give me just a little bit of self-esteem, but I ain't heard an argument in here yet. To say, a motherfucker said, we don't need Africa, and I just ain't heard a good enough argument for why we do. But I know when I fill out my papers, it say African American. It don't say American American. It just says African American. So to say we don't need them, it's just that's a tough pill to swallow. That's a tough pill. And Corey, listen, y'all very well may be making great points, bro. I'm not. This ain't something I even want to debate.
It don't sound good, bro.
No, but Corey, I gotta admit, you said something else. You gotta let me die on my hill. You said it's gonna make you uncomfortable, and you said it's gonna hit you in the heart. It did. I don't like to hear an African American come on YouTube and say the words, what the hell do we need Africa for? Because I picture a white supremacist somewhere lighting a cigar.
And Brad, but I think in some respects they're kind of different arguments, because if Corey is saying, when I heard him say that earlier, I think he's specifically talking about the geopolitical landmass. And I think that's a deviation from the conversation that Logic and I started out when we're saying, what's our existence in terms of culture and identity and what we're holding on to away from the landmass. And so when I think about, by the time you had Catholic priests and missionaries and even other Christian groups moving into the Midwest and the West, to occupy the Comanches and the Dakotas and the Lakotas, and to force them into these schools where the biggest monitor and belief and the concept was to kill the Indian and save the man. That was a perfected model and process that was already enacted and well groomed with the Africans that they had amongst us. That to produce the perfect labor force, we have to suppress in the best way we can any type of any cultural retention and practices. And they wasn't successful, but they were effective enough to set in motion some disjointed, disassociated ideas of our relationship to that cultural identity and practices, to where a lot of it went unconscious, but maintained itself in some form. And so when you're talking about 4, 5, 6 generations in, it's not a coincidence. And I don't think it's our fault that we have, and I'm speaking to the whole group, that we have a group of people saying like, I don't give a fuck about Africa and I have no connection with them and I don't see myself as being, yeah. And it hurts. It's a complicated thing, but yet it's one of those pieces that when we deal with the grounding history,
your tongue too easy.
Yeah, when we deal with the grounded history of it, it makes sense why we will have people who's adamant of not seeing that connection. It makes sense whether we like it or not. It's the reality. And so when you stand, bro, that there's some, we talked about that in our study group the other day, where we were looking at white superiority and the metaphysics of race and the science of social Darwinism. It became clear that there was a intellectual movement, let alone a practical movement in policy and culture to destroy and dissect these group of people, regardless of how they reformulate themselves, and to dissect them away from any type of remnants of who they think they are. Because if they would have maintained any of that, it would have been a detriment to how they understood themselves, organized themselves, and erected themselves against our structure that we benefited from financially. I'll land there.
Now, do you think that we will ever totally...
Whoever that is trying to talk, you got a bad connection.
No, she's clear.
No, somebody's trying to talk.
Oh, okay.
I was going to say a couple of things. Do you think that we will ever totally lose any part of our Africanness? Because if you think about, I always think, no. So let me just finish. So when I think about my grandmother and certain things that she does, right, especially certain things that she's blended with her religion, some of those type of things will never, I feel like, will never die out of our African American culture. Certain things are just here to stay, I feel like. So in a sense, certain things we will never lose. But now getting back to when you say you don't need Africa, I feel like I'm not saying that, just so you know. I'm not saying that shit. Okay. Yeah, I'm not saying that. So I feel like we need our history, right? We need the history to know where we came from and all that stuff like that. But my problem is when people romanticize it and think that they have a home there. We don't have a home there. Our home is here. So just like how Brass was talking about how other people can go back home, my husband is Jamaican. He can go back home, right? But we don't have, it's unfortunate that we don't have a home to go back to, but it's just a fact of the matter of what's been done to us. So we want to appreciate the continent, understand our history there, understand the food that we ate there, the culture, all those type of things that we may have done before we were kidnapped and brought over here. But we have to understand the reality is that we are disconnected from there. And this is our home.
But I mean, disconnected more than just being a home. I had to sit in this Discord yesterday and listen to somebody Like, see, once you start giving up like that, in my opinion, then you lend credence to a person coming in here and saying it wasn't a kidnapping, it was just a trade. They just traded us for trinkets. Like, that's where it doesn't end with just where we live and our legacy and our culture. It starts going to like, well, it really wasn't that bad. You know, people were saying that in here, not even 2 days ago, saying without the slave trade, we might not have been shit if we never left Africa. So forget what they took. Look at what we're giving. We're just giving it away. Now it's not even like they're.
I feel you on that. I feel you on that. I have an uncle.
Hold on. Once you take a step, like you always say, you know, you give a motherfucker an inch, you take a mile. Don't think that this conversation is just the end of the conversations we had this week. So I just don't want to be in a position where we're just saying, you know, that it just didn't exist, because I know that was their whole point and that was their whole goal. So when we say that we don't have, or we not this, or we not this, that, and the third, okay, whatever, that's how you feel. But at some point, I gotta agree with Reggie to an extent. I think y'all think this country love y'all just a little bit too much. Like, I'm not saying Africa does. I'm not saying Africa does. I'm not saying
so can I get a word in though?
Oh yeah, go ahead. I didn't know you were trying to talk.
And I'm after you, Corey. I'm gonna try to answer her question directly. Go ahead, my brother Corey.
Yeah, because what Mujasi spoke to and what the sister spoke to, and very little of what Brad spoke to, right? Listen, that wasn't a question, you know, and I agree with a lot of that, right? With most of that. But that wasn't a question that was posed to me when I was listening at least.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, you know, what was posed to me was what I heard being posed, because it wasn't posed to me, it was posed to Logic when I was hearing it. They were saying, what economic traditions can you take from Africa?
Right.
And it wasn't about the culture. It wasn't about culture to me, because I definitely agree. You know what I mean? We definitely need to understand our ancestry and where we came from. And we do. I agree with the sister. We do retain a lot of that culture, and it is beneficial to us. It helps us cultivate. We take the bits and pieces, like I say, you take the good shit and you set aside the bullshit. We take the bits and pieces that's valuable to us, right, over here in these Americas, right, and we cultivate our own identity, which we have and we continue to do, right. So that cultural aspect, right, we've taken that, we've got that. What we needed from Africa culturally, we already took that years ago, and we've cultivated that into something that you can see peripherally, the Africanness of the African American culture. You see what I'm saying? That's the part. That's the African American. It's our culture. You see what I'm saying? So, but as far as the question that I heard posed, right, as far as the economics, what economic practices or traditions can we take from Africa? That's a total different question.
Yeah, that's what I was supporting. That's what I was supporting, Corey, because what I believe Corey was answering earlier was not the same question that we started from Sister Mrs. Sincere, and so that's why I say it's like, to be fair, when I was talking to Brass, to be fair to Corey, that's a different conversation. And so it's a different angle that Corey was coming from when he would make that statement, because we're, again, talking about what Reggie and him was having an exchange on was the political landmass and looking at economic development by borrowing from folks over on that geopolitical landmass. And I think what we're having a conversation on right now, and to answer your question directly, my sis, is what is those cultural ways of being that maintain exist, that still is there, and is it instructive to us? And here's my concern, and I think it's happening in real time, is that, to answer your question directly, I hope it does not dissolve. I hope we don't lose it. I have a fear that we'll lose it. And what's happening is that a lot of those expressions that still exist, we don't recognize it no more as lingering retentions from those patterns. We don't see it no more. So a lot of it is now languaged and reframed as just a Black thing, this thing that was kind of imposed upon us and that we've accepted at the same time, this political idea of Blackness that we've also blanketed our culture under too. And we're, that's, I love what Stu Pease was dropping earlier. And I think a lot of his concept got misconstrued with the idea that Blackness more so is a political reality and idea, and how we've had to use it and weaponize that against white supremacy and the structures and polities of whiteness. That's what make folks over here unique in our power, is because we've been Black in that way, but we've also extended that to our way of being, our culture, our ability to use certain things in our spiritual practice, our folklores and our laughter and our culture and our music. And we call that Black now because we don't have no other way of framing it. And it makes sense. We're using the language the best way that we understand, to understand why we do something different. But you only need to go to a white Lutheran church and then go to a Black Baptist church and see that there's a cultural difference between those two churches and how they worship. And that Black Baptist church has a lot of retention of those things that are what Joseph Holloway would say is African, but we call it Black. And so as in real time, we don't see it anymore. And that's concerning to me, because even if we don't name it that way, I think Cornel West talked about in his book, Race Matters, that we fall victim to a nihilism that's happening amongst our cultural and identity that has given us a power base to be able to hold this country accountable to its atrocities to our people. His concern is that as soon as we lose our culture to the materialism and to the emptiness of what it means to be America, we're in danger. And that piece is where I sometimes have some red flags and I'm concerned about, because I think from going forward, we're always going to wrestle with that dialectical struggle. That's what we talked about this morning. We're always going to have to hold that. What Du Bois kind of poetically put in Souls of Black Folks, that warring consciousness of being a Negro in America and being an American Negro, and how those are two warring souls, conflicting within us, that if it wasn't for our doggone strength, it would tear us asunder. I think that's where we exist at. But sometimes I get concerned that we're losing that battle and we're going to lose that African that makes us American. And we're going to, and so that's my thoughts around that. I hope that answers your question a little directly. Go ahead, my sis. I'm sorry.
And can I say real quick though, sis, that I think that African culturalness that you're afraid that we might lose, I think what it is you find that mostly in the church, right? And the church attendance is very low. I kind of myself, even through my atheism, right, I kind of worry about that for my kids too. Like just the tradition of going to the Sunday school, and not just it's not the learning of the Bible, but it's the community, the songs, you know what I'm saying? The organ player, the piano player, you know what I'm saying? sermon, even. You know what I'm saying? All of that is tied up. It's all that Africanness is stirred up in that. You know what I mean? And with the church attendance being down, you kind of lose that cultural aspect of it. So that we are in danger of losing that because of that. But go ahead, sis. You wanted.
I just was gonna add to what you guys were saying is that especially the religion part of it. And if you have a grandma, like most of us probably have, like my grandmother, she add all kind of stuff in with her spirituality and stuff. So even though she go to church, you know, she's a Christian by day, but when she get home, it's a different thing. So, you know, she say little things like, don't sweep her foot, or if you drop a fork, somebody's coming hungry, or, you know, different things like that. All those sort of things, even though I'm agnostic, I get down with all that. So, you know, I think some of those type of things we will not lose, even if it comes down to like Ifa stuff. And I know we had a funny conversation a while back about, you know, animal sacrifice and all that. But even something as simple as that, because on my father's side, and, you know, my paternal grandmother, you know, their family did that sort of stuff. So I know about that stuff. So even though I don't believe in it, I still kind of know about it. And I talk to my children about it just so they'll have they don't lose that history, you know, if that makes sense. So I feel like some of those type of things will kind of always be with us to some degree. You know, that's just my thoughts.
And my sis, does your grandma identify some of those ways of beings as African retention?
She doesn't exactly use the term African, but she always says about what her mama did and what her mama's mama did. So even like one time we was having a dinner, a family gathering, and it was the summertime, and a bird flew in the house, and she almost had a heart attack because she was talking about how her mama's mama told her that if a bird fly in the house, you know what it mean and all this stuff like that. So you know, those type of things, she don't really say it's African, but I know what I know how she's referring to it as, you know what I mean?
That's right. And I think that's the piece that we, you know, I'm always listening to and I'm always learning about, because and that's not only her generation, the generation before her didn't have that ancestral memory anymore, our collective memory. It wasn't there. Not talking about genetics, because I know my brother Asta been kind of confused our language around that. But we're talking about being able to see these things from those cultural pieces. And most of that is a direct result to what me and Logic was talking about, our adaptation, assimilation, and the cultural violence that we experience by trying to maintain and hold on to that. The drum was outlawed here in the colonies, and it was outlawed for a reason, because the Stonewall Rebellion said something very particular about what the drum meant. And of course, those early British got scared when they realized that that drum was a very important instrument for a lot of different reasons. And that drum was a synchronized language that crossed those various different Bantu people into one accord, into one language. And that's one of those examples of how those cultural pieces had to be suppressed in order to create and invent, like Earl Conrad says, that the perfect Negro, the invention of the Negro. But there was an entire method of having to break down the African at that time and make him docile and fit and skilled to fit the servitude of what was needed in plantation life, house life, agricultural life, and to make the economy work. And part of that came with either suppressing, destroying, or prohibiting any type of those cultural artifacts and edifices that made us who we are. And so the things that maintain what me and Logic was dialoguing about is what allowed us to survive. What gave us not only utility on those fields, but it gave us utility in our mental health. And some of that stuff shows up in these superstitious ways that, you know.
Mujasi.
Yeah.
think about what you said. See, this is why I talk about Granny all the time. Because that's all Granny told you how to make it through the world already. You just got to remember what she said, right? Even with all the African tradition, all that mixed in, what's she saying here? Listen, think about what you just said, right? And Granny told me, what'll make you laugh now or make you cry later. They set us up to handle the plantation and work our asses off, right? But that same thing that made them good then, we can fuck them over with now. You know what I'm saying? See, that's what that Granny done told us. You just got to remember what she said. That's all. And they were trying to tell me earlier, right, that ain't Granny don't give you how to get through the world today and all of this. No, listen, Granny done seen it all and done it all. You know what I'm saying? It ain't nothing under the sun that's new.
Right.
And some of these people, grandmother told them to go get them $20, 5382 on pick 5 and a slip malt liquor. That's the extent of the relationship with some of these people and their grandmother. That's the only point I was trying to make. Some people, meanwhile, was selling drugs.
Right.
Let's have a real conversation now. Everybody, meanwhile, ain't big mama of the family.
That's one of the practical realities in that.
That's true. But I think for some of us who do have our grandmother, we can attest to the fact that she's the glue of the family. Even if your grandfather is around, still even your grandfather, goes along with what Granny is talking about.
Yeah.
Right. And that sit his ass down because he know what's good for him.
Yeah, if he's smart. He said if he's intelligent. My grandfather taught me that your wife run the household. Don't be fighting. Don't be an idiot and think you run. That's all my grandfather used to say. Yeah, I talk loud, but I know who's in charge around here, and don't you ever get it twisted. See, so I understand that part. I'm just saying it's a lot of. I just don't like to do the romantic. It's funny, y'all won't let me romanticize Africa, but then you'll critique me while y'all romanticize the elderly. No. Some people's grandmothers was harmful to their grandkids. That's why a lot of them grandmothers, their kids don't even mess with them after they get to a certain point. Grandmother be in dire straits. They don't remember all them good speeches, Corey. Some people on this panel ain't seen their grandmother in about 3, 4, 5 years. So what you paying her back with? Neglect?
Right. And I think I want to make sure we come back to this topic in the future and have a conversation about the destabilization of the Black family, because there's a grounded reality to both ends, both of what we're talking about. Like what Sister Sincere and Brother Corey, what y'all are elevating is accurate. Like there was a point, and even to this day in some people's life, where the wisdom and the experiences and the ethical and moral foundation that existed in the Black family was transmitted from grandma to the children, to the grandchildren and uncles and everybody's. That there was a centering, and you only need to look at the book. It's called The Extended Black Family by Elmer and Joanne Martin. And the reason why I know some of these pieces, because this is kind of my field of work. I'm a family scientist. My organization and everything focuses on Black families and the development and the health and reconstruction of the Black family in Minnesota. But there was a central core well into the 70s where there was some sense of functional grandparents interacting in the lives of grandchildren and the extended family. And there was still remnants that there was a centralized hub, a home that people knew that they can travel to regionally, annually, to get that connection and reconnection, to keep a bridging of family connections. But we also have to deal with the gritty reality that because of economic deprivation and policies, because of employment changes, industry changes, outsourcing, because of drugs, because of intentional criminalization laws, many different factors, it impacted and targeted the Black family in such a way where it created so much fragmentation, dysfunction, that what we're seeing today in the families that I work with is that there's a lot of emotional hangovers with grandparents today that are still trying to process what happened to them in their childhood that's affecting their ability to be grandparents today. And so I will be hard pressed in both realities to say that we can tell our children today to just listen to your grandparents, because the grandparents right now are trying their best, if they even understand the language, to process the trauma of what happened to them in the late 60s and the early 70s. And they're still trying to recover from how their family was impacted by all of those social events that almost destroyed the very power-based fabric that we have in that family structure. And we have not been able to rebuild that in the same way that we could reminisce on today. We haven't rebuilt that. And so there's a conversation that I hope that we can have one day soon where we're investigating, what does the Black family structure look like? What is the role of the grandparents in that piece? Is that wisdom still there? Do we still have a foundational ethic in our family transmission that can support the development of our children today, so that way they can be whole, grounded, healthy, functional citizens growing into this world with some sense of collective identity of who they are? Because there's a tragedy that's happening in our family structure today where the grandparents are damn near obsolete in Black families. And I'll land there.
Hey, real quick. So there's a book called Black Families by McAdoo.
Oh yeah.
Maybe we can use that one.
Absolutely.
And I think Bayasa just said the same thing, Black family, because that's what I read when I was having this conversation previous.
Yes,
Bayasa dropped a link in the Discord. He wants me to read a little bit of it. It's an article that says anthropologist traces tribe from Africa to Oklahoma by Nick Foltz. And it says Joseph Opala now knows he didn't need to go to West Africa to study the customs and language of the Gullah people. He could have done it in his native Oklahoma.
That's right.
The son of State Supreme Court Justice Marion Opala, the 38-year-old anthropologist has lived in West Africa for 14 years and has been conducting research in Sierra Leone since entering that country as a Peace Corps volunteer in 1974. In the 1700s, West Africa was known as the Rice Coast, and slaves from the region were in demand in South Carolina and Georgia because they could cultivate rice, he said. The Black slaves and their descendants became known as the Gullahs. Between 1750 and 1830, many Gullah slaves fled captivity and went south into the jungle-like swamps of the Florida Peninsula. There they established villages and planted rice. So I'm going to just keep reading. Renegade Indians also fled to the peninsula. Later, when American settlers began pushing into the area, a full-scale war broke out. It ran from 1835 to 1842. The Gullahs joined forces with the Florida Indians, called U.S. Seminoles, in battling the U.S. Army. So he said that he was surprised. I'm going to fast forward. It says that the Blacks who remained in Oklahoma are official members of the Seminole Indian tribe, said Opala, and comprise 2 of the 14 Seminole bands. They are called Seminole Freedom. They still eat rice at almost every meal and have dishes made with rice and greens. Their diet distinguishes them from whites and other Blacks in the area. And they still speak the Gullah language about 150 years after their ancestors fled to Florida. This is a hybrid language of the slave trade, 85% English, 15% African. The older Blacks, those in their 70s and 80s, still use some of the same expressions similar in West Africa. He described his research recently in a Ford Foundation talk at the University of Tulsa. So apparently, we do have examples of West Africa being useful and still being used here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure Logic gonna say that that's bullshit, but we still have it. Nobody wants
I actually told Ashton B. I actually told Ashton B. that he was incorrect, right? I was like, yeah, you can see some of the vestiges of Africa in our behavior today. I said that.
Oh, okay.
I don't have no.
I wasn't here.
That's cool. It's cool, bro. It's cool. But yeah, I totally acknowledge that, and I understand that you'll see it, right? So I really have been contemplating the question that he asked since he asked it about, what do we lose? I think that's a very, very good question. You know what I'm saying? I think that's a I don't know how to answer that. Corey, you got an immediate answer for that? What do we
What
lose?
was the question?
Once that African, I guess, cultural connection is dissolved, with that, what do we lose? That's his question. Let me not make it my question. What do we lose once we lose all that African cultural thinking?
What do we lose? We're just American. We lose the African from in front of the African American. Once we fully, I don't think we have ever fully.
So once we identify fully with America, what do we lose?
Africa.
No. So that's the thing. There is, you have to, that's a part of our identity that we never gonna lose. But it's
I don't think we'll lose it either.
I mean, what you're really asking is what's the importance of it, basically, right?
No, I'm trying to keep it his question and not make it my question. So keeping that in mind, I'm trying not to make it my question.
So y'all saying once we
answer, I don't think it's something that we can lose. Right? So
I'm with Corey. I don't think it's something that we can lose, especially not completely. I don't believe that.
Why do you say that?
Because we maintaining it without even knowing it's there.
Yeah.
Like what?
The black church, for one, is definitely a good example of where you're going to see a lot of mannerisms, a lot of behavior patterns, and things like that in a cluster, right? You got
things that I carry on.
You got a whole bunch of them in one area.
Carried on from their grandparents that I instill in my kids. That all this stuff just carries.
Yeah, the way they shout, the way they clap, the way they communicate in there, right? Yeah. So, all of that.
The cultural aspect, right, is part of our identity. It's part of who we are. You see what I'm saying? So, like, as long as it's black people, you're gonna have African American culture.
Yeah. So the fact that we do that subconsciously now, right? It tells me that we're doing that without even trying to do it. Right, we don't even know that it's there. We would need a specialist to even identify in our own stuff. That's how seamless it is already
in hip hop and music.
I mean, is it gone or has it just changed?
But if you're saying it's there and you're saying we're using it, then why do you say we don't need it?
I'm not saying we don't need it. I'm asking other people what does it do? I ain't say we don't need it.
No, but when Chef said we don't need it, there wasn't no
Chef's argument.
No, but there wasn't no pushback.
No. Chef said we didn't need Africans, as in the question that was posed earlier. You know what I'm saying?
So y'all were saying we don't need the African people.
Right.
No. I'm not saying that.
This is crazy. No, we don't need.
Mine is more about this African culture.
I don't know. Either way, I don't know.
We don't need to saturate what we do in America with Africa. We already maintain some of that stuff.
But logic, I don't need a deeper explanation for something simple. When we say the words, we don't need the African people. Just leave it there.
I said I disagree. I said it's culture. I'm separating what I'm saying from what Corey's saying.
Okay, so Corey's saying we don't need the people. You saying we don't need the culture.
Right. I don't even know where the people came up at. I thought we were talking about the culture the whole time.
You got to understand what I'm saying.
I'm trying to understand, but y'all
listen. Everything we needed from Africa, we already got it already.
Damn, man.
We've been had it for a long time. I think
you trying to just drop one-liners that's going. You fucking my whole day up, Corey. But go ahead.
No, I actually said this earlier. I don't think we can lose it. So it ain't just this conversation. I don't think we'll ever get to
we'll never lose it. But you're saying we don't need it.
I'm talking about saturating our current situation with more African stuff. That's what I'm talking about. Right? I'm not saying that we should
Can
discard the
you tell
stuff
me
that we
what
can
we don't
identify.
need then? All right, then let me, because and I'm
Yeah,
not cutting you to speak. I'm
no,
cutting you so I can
now
understand your argument.
you're asking me to clarify it and then attempting to clarify it for me. I'm
No,
telling you, I'm not saying we don't need it. We don't need Africa at all. I'm not saying that. Right? I'm more speaking to bringing more African culture into the African American identity. Right? As if our identity is not whole until we incorporate more Africanness into it. That's what I'm talking about.
So what is it? Okay, so what is it that we don't need?
We don't need to saturate our
No,
behavior
no.
with
Don't say it.
Africanness.
No, but what I'm asking is be specific. What do they do on the continent
We
that we
don't
don't need?
need to saturate our behavior with Africanness. That's too broad.
I don't even know what I don't even know the term. I'm fighting for clarity, Logic. I'm not fighting you.
Okay, well, let me just agree with Corey and make it simpler. The Africanness that we have maintained was what we needed, right? The other stuff, like we already been through this process internally, as far as keeping what
He
we
said what I
could.
said.
So when you
Let
say
me.
the
Yeah, I'm
other
gonna just
stuff,
agree with Corey to make it simple here. And to answer that question, I'll just agree with Corey.
right? When you just said the words, okay, then I'm gonna make it simpler for you. When you say the other stuff, what is that? What is the other stuff?
I don't know. Whatever it was, they didn't keep it.
Yeah, I'm sure we brought a lot with us, right? But everything didn't survive, right? Because it can't. We're not in that environment no more. We're in a whole different environment.
Yeah, we
So
wasn't able to maintain the drums in the same way. So the drums here is something different, right? Like there isn't a necessary one for all of these things. All the stuff we could keep, we did already, and we're doing it subconsciously. We don't even know that we're doing it.
Okay.
So from there, right, to understand that as a building block of my actual being, to say I am not whole without incorporating more Africa into my behavior, I think you're going too far.
Too much Africa.
I think you're going too far. Because at that point, are we talking about a need now?
I gotta agree.
Jesus Christ, man. Okay. All right. We just disagree. That's all.
Can I explain mine? Can you explain yours?
I think y'all. I just think that. I'm gonna be very clear to you. The goal also, in order to enslave Africans, was to steal their culture, steal their legacy, give them a God. I'm assuming, give them a Bible, give them something other than what they were. I guess to make it easier to manage or make it easier for it to be done, this, that, and the other. And based off what y'all saying, all I can say is that in 2025, it worked. That
Right.
literally we are saying
You're missing
our
something.
mouths, we don't need it. No, you asked me my opinion.
You're
I can't be
missing.
missing nothing on my point.
No, I'm right. I got you. Well, inside of your point, incorporate that I'm acknowledging that we do currently have these vestiges. I'm acknowledging that when I say it. So then I will go on to explain to you that the make it necessary for me to be a whole being right now, 2025 America, that I need to incorporate more Africa. I'm saying I don't think that that's a need.
Okay. And I'm saying that we're African Americans in the United States, not just Americans, and that I think it would be.
But what you said is that their goal was to take it from us, and I'm acknowledging that they didn't take it all from us.
Did. They took our language.
No, they didn't. That's why I'm saying we still got some of the vestiges. That's why I'm saying we still got some. That's why I started off by saying I don't think they can take it from us.
Logic, where your people from in Africa based on your DNA test?
I ain't cooking.
Okay. So would you say you from West Africa, assuming? or you have any idea?
Yeah, I'm West or Central Africa, if I had to guess.
You know any of those languages?
Mm-mm. Nope.
So they ain't take your language from you?
Okay, we lost our language.
That that's not okay, but you just said that we don't need it. That they took your literal language from you.
You're trying to paint it. I keep
I'm just
saying.
making statements. I'm not painting. I'm not painting.
I
I'm
keep
making a
saying the
statement.
same thing. I'm
I
saying
know
that
you.
we
I know you
naturally
keep saying the same thing, but
keep some of the Africa in us
right.
already.
And you said the other shit we
Right.
don't
So
need.
so the other stuff would be us incorporating more Africa. So when I'm saying that I don't believe that they can take it, I'm saying that because we still do it now. Right.
But
So
if they,
I'm not convinced that they have the ability to take it at all. So you're giving me this framework about we need it or don't need it. I'm saying they can't even take it. Are you hearing what I'm saying?
can somebody else help in the conversations? Because I think we talking past each other.
Yeah, a
I
little bit.
recognize what you said, but I just told you said that we don't need the other stuff, as if we took the most important things, I'm assuming, from Africa. And I just told you they took our language, which I think would be kind of important, and you're saying it like it don't matter.
I'm maybe to my ancestors, the language was not something that they could keep in their environment for whatever reason. So whether they wanted to or not, they didn't. But besides the language, as I can tell, there's other things that we were able to maintain and keep.
And I agree with you. I'm not listen. You keep talking about the points we agree on, but I'm telling you that one of the most, if not the most important thing that they took from us is our language, and you treating it like, well, we were allowed to keep the other stuff. We didn't lose the other stuff. The language ain't really all that important. That's how I'm sure. That's what I'm getting from you.
No,
well,
because the language, his
maybe
language
the case
wouldn't have benefited him no way because
maybe the case for language is on you to do, not me.
Listen,
so speaking your native tongue ain't important to you?
Logic.
I mean, explain what the importance of it.
Speaking all kind of different languages, right? So,
but we don't even try to speak African. We go to school. We learn Spanish. We learn French. We learn dead languages like Latin. But they don't even attempt to teach you what could possibly be your actual home language.
So here, can I intervene in real quick? Listen, I don't presume that y'all can solve this 150-year-old dilemma with the black mind and psychology in this conversation. This is difficult. This is a
do you
challenge.
understand my point, though, Mujah?
I do. I get your point.
I don't think Logic
Can you help him explain the point? Because I'm simply asking if I spoke Swahili.
Hold on.
I don't want you to bridge. Just say it in a different way. I don't want you to bridge. Say it in a different way.
So let me say it like this, and I'll try to see if I can help articulate what Brass is saying and then draw it with logic. We're an amalgamation of what my brother Gullah would say, these Niger Congo people genetically who reformulated themselves with the English tongue and see the world from an American perspective. That right there alone is going to create some dissonance and some conflictions on how we try to understand what it even means to now throw on this concept called being African. And so what Frantz Fanon teaches us in his book, Wretched of the Earth, is that what makes people have a clear orientation to how they see the world is through language. Your language is what orientates you to your politics, your culture, how you view economics, and your relationship with other beings. And it prepares you for the disposition that you may have congruently or incongruently to power. And so when you think about this amalgamated Niger Congo person who speaks English and live in a colonized space and view the world from an American point of view, we already are at a disadvantage because what Brass is saying is that we don't speak those Niger, Congo, Bantu languages anymore. So our worldview is already going to be kind of twisted on the compass and the axis of being able to see our political orientation. And so what I hear Logic is trying to say is that, well, we're trying to assimilate and adapt in this political economy called America. And we have to speak this Anglo-descended tongue in order to exist. And so what we were able to carry over and keep, we've already kept it according to his perspective. And we're adapting and adjusting to this. But what it does not, and where I may differ from what Logic is saying, is that it does not resolve the conflict, the age-old conflict that we're struggling with. And again, we're talking about a group of people who are primarily Niger, Congo descended people, genetically, that speaks English and see the world through an American lens. And so that level of schizophrenia in our culture and identity is always going to be complex when coming to this conversation, because you're going to have those who says, I'm only see the world from an American lens. I have nothing to do with that cultural piece. I may recognize that my ancestors was this, but I'm fully fledged America. Then you may have some who recognize, like, look, there's some retentions and I see some cultural remnants, like what more groundly, what Corey is saying. What Corey is illustrating is that which is very much descendants of those Niger Congo people, is the reverence for our elders. That's what he's emulating and symbolically elevating when we say, listen to our grandmothers. Because that right there is a customary practice that when you go to pre-colonial Africa, I don't know about now, but pre-colonial Africa, from some of the anthropological writings that we do have, there was always a reverence that was taught between the young people, the middle-aged people, and the elders in the community. You always had to have a reverence for the elders because how they placed themselves in positioning of the wisdom, carrying the politics, understanding the economy, having relationships with trade, the elder was critically important. So when Corey says, your grandma's important, when Sister Sincere say, your grandma's important, that's retentive moral practices and ethics that never got destroyed. The plantation could not destroy that. That helped us to survive. Because when your father was sold off 40 miles away and shipped and had to get re-domesticated from Virginia to Alabama, in most cases, the only person that you had was mom and me, mom. That's all we had. And so the wisdom that the person next to you to say, listen to your mom. That's what dad was able to say before he kissed you and they dragged him off in them chains. Listen to your me, mom. Listen to them. Because that's a customary retention that maintained itself with those Niger Congo people that we end up merging into and formulating a new identity. But this thing that we're trying to wrestle with never got resolved. And I don't think it ever will. And so it goes back to our conversation of, like, the question that we proposed this morning is that in the process of trying to decipher economics and business deals and stuff like that, and trying to assimilate and acculturate an industry and market here, is there a complication when we're trying to at least maintain a sense of a cultural orientation that reminds us our disposition here in America? Like, if it's an Africanism or if it's an African blackness or whatever we term it, do we dissolve that to get the contract deal, work in the corporation, work in the industry, and be able to own another BET? Do we resolve that, or do we still try to hold on to it? Because it's always when we have that orientation, we start to do for that. And we see it with other groups that come here, acculturate here. They, in the first 2 or 3 generations, they still attempt to hold on to cultural collective actions that inform their economics, their politics, their geographic residential decisions, and how they think about themselves as a collective. They try to hold on to that. But as they acculturate and lose that language oftentimes and that distancing, that's where you start seeing the fragmentation between the third generation and fourth generation and their original people that they come from. America does that by natural process. And the African in America is the perfect example of that dissonance and discord. I hope I was able to bridge the differences between you two brothers, because y'all was missing each other, but y'all was kind of also saying the same thing. I'll end there.
Yeah. And I appreciate that, brother Najasi. You always bring it around for everybody.
Yes, sir.
And I wanna say though, I don't think we give Black people enough credit. I think Black people are intelligent enough, without the being able to speak a Niger Congo language or whatever. I think we're able to reorient ourselves. We can orient ourselves here in a way that's beneficial for us. That maybe the orientation, this African orientation, right, may not. There was some things we could take and we did take, right? So those are the things that's beneficial to us. But maybe we need to reorient ourselves in a way that's going to be suitable for this endeavor that the African is taking part in, because this is a different endeavor that we hadn't taken part in. So I think our orientation may need to evolve, you know what I'm saying, to suit us in this climate or in these circumstances, or however you want to put it. You know what I'm saying? So
yes, sir.
Again, I go and I appreciate, like when you say, you know, remember what Granny say and all of that, right? I appreciate that, because them are the things when Daddy leave and go out of town or whatever. Listen to your mama, boy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Those are those things that we retain. We got, like, what my point is, I think we got everything that we need already. We came over here with it. You know what I'm saying? We came over here with it.
It would have had to have been on the boat.
We was fully suited when we came. We had everything we need as far as culture. And we retain those things that we need. But
did you just say that everything we needed was on the boat?
I mean, wouldn't it have had to been on the boat? The culture?
You're saying Logic? I'm saying we came
Hold
over
on, Corey. Logic, did you just say everything that we needed was on the boat, brother?
Well, if I did, I'm asking, was the culture on the boat? I'm saying the culture would have been on the boat, right?
Not necessarily.
Wow.
Okay.
Not really. See, you got to keep in mind that a lot of the people that were stolen, a lot of the people that end up as prisoners within all of those intra-group conflicts, it ranged in age. But there was a point in time in the 18th century where a vast majority of it, and I'm going off of Edmund Morgan's book, American Slavery and I think what it's called, American something, Slavery and Capitalism, that there was a large portion of the English records that showed that the assumption of many of those that were captured was between the ages of like 10 and 15, sometimes even younger. And so we can't presume that culture was completely intact when we're talking about, I mean, in our standard and age and time, adolescents, like young people that before they were even teenagers. And so there was a wide range of different groups of people and different ages of people that probably didn't have the culture intact. And even when there was some that was much older, depending on where they was, whether they was in Barbados, in Jamaica, or here in Virginia and South Carolina, the age range, Brass brought this up a few weeks ago, the age range, not the age range, the life expectancy, many of our ancestors did not get beyond 5 to 7, sometimes 10 years before they were dead and replaced by another body. And so when you're talking about a calamity of people that was forced into this prison industrial labor camp and had to reform themselves under such conditions, the tension, the cultural retention that we were able to maintain is nothing short of impressive and remarkable, but there was so much that was still left and so much that either discarded and that we were only able to remember and maintain for the sanctity of our survival. So would I be the one to utter and say, will I be the one to utter and say that we already have enough? No. Do I think that I need to go to the continent to get it? I don't think so. But I think there's an educational piece that I have to become aware of, like, of what constitute mental health, so I don't Europeanize myself or Americanize myself to a psychic point where I'm having a disconnection culturally and personally from what my ancestors and my family teach me and what I'm trying to be in order to adapt and fit into America. And I think that's the dialectical struggle that we keep circling back to, because I don't think it's enough.
Do you feel like your typical businessman fits that?
Say that again, Logic.
I said, well, you say your typical businessman fits that, like what you were saying, what not to become.
Are you asking that as a question, or are you making a statement?
Yeah, I'm asking as a question.
Say it again one more time. I'm sorry.
Does your average businessman fit that? Remember, that's how we started. Can a businessman be a businessman without all those mean, you know what I'm saying, and keep all those things, right? Would you say your average businessman would fit that contradiction there?
See, that's where we left off at. And I can't really say. You know, we brought up the example of Bob Johnson and BET and the commitment and orientation and understanding that subalternative perspective of why he sold the channel to Viacom. And we're looking at, you know, we're trying to make sense of, I don't know. I don't know, brother. I don't know. That's the examination.
Because that's capitalism. That's what you do when you buy a business or you create a corporation. You typically sell it eventually for the most money that you can get for it. And then you reinvest in some other business. That's just basic capitalism. Like it's nothing.
I don't know what y'all talking about.
I gotta figure. I'm trying to figure out what are, because the only description I heard of culture up here was somebody saying something about a grandmother saying, or somebody, daddy or something, telling them, hey, you know, go with your grandma, which I don't understand how that's culture. But can y'all give more examples of the culture that y'all are talking about?
I don't know. I don't know. Somebody can answer that.
Not you, Logic.
That's
not you.
a very good.
You the
very
last
good
person I want to
question.
hear from when it comes to culture.
It's a very good question, Steve.
Because I'm trying to understand it. Because I'm like, what part of the assimilation are y'all not willing to say that y'all have already accepted? Because y'all, all I hear ever from Logic is anti-Africanism. It don't matter what the topic is. He gonna figure out how to go at Africa. I don't need no Africa. I don't need them Africans. Okay, so cool. So now I'm just trying to figure
Thanks,
out
Chef. Thank you, Chef.
what this conversation is about, because it's so much like left field things being discussed, and it's like, what does that have to do with culture? Musically, religiously, spiritually, like what part of culture are we discussing right now? Because I thought Brass made it pretty clear that most of us have already lost the majority of the culture that our ancestors came here with.
Yeah, I'm being clear with you. We're talking about the assimilation part. That's what we're talking about.
Right. If you've assimilated, then you're not sharing African culture anyway. You're practicing American culture. You're practicing the culture of the dominant force on this land, which you've been doing forever. You celebrate the holidays. You speak the same language. You practice the same religions, whether that be Christianity, Islam, whatever. Like everything about being an American is assimilation.
I don't believe it. I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
He's on a
Yeah,
roll, Chef. Don't interrupt him.
it's
So I'm
it's
like, so the question was, the question was, can an average businessman not fit into that? Right? Can he operate like totally outside of that paradigm of being too American as a businessman?
That don't need, yeah, that don't
Do
even make
business
sense.
people exist in other countries? Like,
No, I'm
I
talking
be
about in
wondering,
America.
like,
I'm talking about in
that's
America.
what,
Like, can an
that's what I'm
American
saying. But even
businessman?
in America, why would you have, like, why would being a businessman be a part of assimilation? You can be a businessman in different countries in Africa. You can be a businessman in different
You
countries
know
in
what?
Europe.
I feel like I'm gonna do everybody a favor, right? See, Mujasi. I feel like this is where, this is where I feel like you would be a better person to communicate with him because y'all have a lot more to agree upon. So he sees me as an adversary, right? That's why it's going to be attack, 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 even if the conversation is good, right?
But
So would you mind? Hold up. Would you mind asking him the question from this morning? I want to hear how this plays out.
So,
If you don't mind.
brother C Dot, how long have you been listening? I know I just seen you popping in, but how long you been listening for, my brother?
since I got off work, maybe an hour or so.
Okay. All right. Um. So one of the things that, let me say, this morning, the conversation is an extension of what happened, me and Logic was talking about this morning when we first opened up the thread. And we were talking about, we first started with a question and just kind of discourse around the Black businessman and if the Black businessman have solutions that could be put on the table for our liberation, freedom, progress, and things like that. And I think we contributed eventually to talking about the orientation and the commitment of the Black businessman to our collective struggle and being able to define what that collective struggle. And then we start looking at identity and the process and the conflictions of assimilating what happens when a businessman owns a corporation and a business, and he's competing against an industry that may, like you said, capitalism weigh him out or try to buy him out. But the conflictions that may happen if he or she tries to hold on to that corporation for the orientation and commitment of the people. And so from there, we had, some roundabout conversation and talking about what does it mean to hold on to a sense of identity that gives us an orientation. And so we had a few different questions that brought us to this idea of the dialectical struggle and relating it to the boys' kind of concept of the double consciousness and the warring awareness and identities within us. And then from there, we were trying to process what that means with our commitment to our people and the idea of cultural identity, substantiating, supporting that versus assimilating and dissolving ourselves in capitalism, America, and the corporations and the American construct. And so we've been kind of dancing back and forth, trying to work out the language, what we're trying to say with that, and create some understanding with that. So there's a little bit of context, a pretext to what you're hearing right now that I know you've only been previewed within the last hour to see of how the conversation evolved. And so it is brought in some pieces about culture, but that's also an extension of a deviated question that happened within the last 3 or 4 hours that kind of got crossed up into that. And we're trying to also separate and have some disaggregation with that conversation. So I think what you're coming in with, there's a roundabout to it that you're only hearing just a small aspect of it, my brother. So I think that's it.
Okay, but that doesn't really answer the question of I get you, you know what I'm saying? Like I get where the conversation started off at and all that good stuff, but I'm still curious to know like exactly what culturally, because like I said, I thought Brass did a pretty good job by telling y'all like no, like we've already assimilated the vast majority of everything we do today is an assimilation to Americanism. Like I said, the languages we speak, the religions we practice, like all aspects are things that we were forced to assimilate to once we were brought to this country. The way we dress, everything, like literally, we assimilate. We wear suits. People don't like that wasn't a casual wear.
But the way a black man wears a suit is a little bit different, right? So he wanted to know like what was some of the cultural things that we retain.
He puts on a three-piece.
You wanted
a
to know. Your question was
skirt, a jacket, a sports coat, and a tie. Like that's typical.
Yeah,
European.
But we put our own little spin on it. You got creolization in there too. Like you got, subculture.
Yeah, but
like,
on the outside, it looks like it's just assimilation. You dig what I'm saying? But it's all it is actually a merger, right? Even with the language, right? We think that we're just speaking English, but we're not.
African American vernacular. It's a creolization. Exactly. The grammar is African.
Exactly.
The grammar is not Congo. You know, even
exactly.
Even when you say religion, even when you say I'm just saying, even when you say religion, like for us, the Congo people that came from the Congo, a lot of them was already Christian before they got here, because the Congo converted to Christianity themselves. You know, so a lot of the Congolese people were already Christian before they even was transported here.
But how did they get converted to Christians?
Because they chose to trade with the Portuguese.
Exactly. Choose to.
So, also, you gotta understand a lot of.
Do you know the history? Do you know the history of the Congo?
You understand a lot of Africans already converted to Islam or Christianity prior to the transatlantic slave trade.
And even the ones who wasn't, and even the ones who wasn't, Christianity wasn't forced on us, right? That's a lot of rhetoric that it was forced upon them. Like it wasn't. You could still practice what you wanted to practice. A lot of African Americans chose to practice Christianity in the early 20th century to become more American. Like that's a part that people don't want to talk about. So even in our form of Christianity, it still doesn't
it's Africanism in it.
It still doesn't mimic mainstream white America's Christianity. It is very much, its own thing, right? Like, so, it could sound like it, but if you don't believe it for the African American, just look through the Caribbean, because or the South America, because most times we can't see Africanisms in our own culture, right? Because we so ingrained in it, we think, we're just copying white folk. You dig what I'm saying? So if you look through the Caribbean and South America, you'll be able to see how we blended this thing, and there's a lot of Africanism still remain in us, and I think we just forcing people to be super African, and you know what I mean, and you don't have to be. We already African. Is nothing.
How is anybody
you can't take it out of us?
Super African.
Huh?
No, I mean, how many times have I came up here and tried to force you to be super African?
No, not you. No, I'm not talking directly.
He just talking. Yeah.
I'm not. This is not a conversation just about you.
Even in our version, even in the black church, in our version of Christianity, you see like call and response, and even the shouting. You know what I'm saying? Catching the Holy Ghost. It's African stuff, bro. Like, they start drumming and all that. It's African shit.
Henry Louis Gates did a good special
And
on that.
are we being a little?
I'm gonna put it in the chat for you. See that?
Are we being?
We super hard on ourselves.
Are we being a little too hard? Yeah, and because the reason why I say that is, of course, we're going to have some assimilation, because that's just the nature of the society that we live in. We live in America, so even when Italians come here, anybody else comes here, they do have a certain amount of assimilation. So that's just to be expected, I think. I think sometimes we, it's a bad thing if African is assimilating. It's a natural thing that people do when they live around each other, and every other culture does it that come here, right?
It's a difference.
Yeah.
The difference is when those cultures come
I don't think we'll ever stop
immigrate here, and they're able to still have a connection.
There'll always be minority groups.
We do not. because
Always
we
have
were not we did not
reasons,
immigrate here. We were forced here. So it's a difference. It's a lot of our cultures
It
that we
doesn't
do
matter.
not
It doesn't
know
matter
because
how
it
we
was
got
taken
here,
away.
but
They don't have that
it
same
doesn't matter how
situation.
it doesn't matter how we got here. The fact is that we are
It
here, and once we
does.
are here, are doing what other people do in nature and naturally. They assimilate. So
Yeah.
that's the same thing. If
And
I move
everybody
to
else
But
acknowledges
move
it
it's
somewhere
though.
else,
different for people who
Everybody
came
else
here as
acknowledges it though.
slaves
Do y'all
than
know that?
people who
it
came here as
doesn't matter.
immigrants.
But everybody
Yes,
else
yes, we were
acknowledges
stolen and
It
brought here,
does
but
matter.
it
It matters a
doesn't
lot.
matter.
Like what are we
It,
talking about here?
if we would have came
Hey,
here
see,
on our own, we still would have assimilation.
assimilation.
It doesn't
Yeah,
matter
you
how
had
we
it. You
got
had
here.
it. Yeah, yeah, you had it on the continent. Even for instance, all throughout the Spanish regime, you know, in the 1500s, like even in the in the country of Suriname, we had the biggest maroon population of
Suriname,
South
yep.
America. In Suriname, they assimilated with Native Americans and had their own community. Like, 'cause of you know, they ain't from here, so they assimilated their Native American cultures on their own. That's just human contact, bro. Just look at
Like
It
you
ain't
see
got
the
nothing to
Native
do with what I
American,
human
just said.
contact.
you see
Our
the Native
situation was
American
not
wears the suit.
immigrating.
Hold on.
It was
Everybody
slavery.
seen the pictures of the Native American wearing a suit jacket, right? And then they don't have their own type of tie on with one of their medallion pieces, right, with the two strings as their tie. So it's an assimilation. You got the European suit jacket, right? You have a European button-up shirt, but their tie is a Native American symbol. You know what I mean? I'm gonna put a picture in it. Everybody does it. You feel me? Everybody does it. We
What I'm saying is, what I'm saying is, right? So are you trying to work towards full assimilation, or are you trying to actually learn and regather your culture that you came from? Which one is the goal?
Our culture
Let's
is what
simplify.
we develop here. Our culture is what we develop here. We are a unique people. Once we got off those boats, we are our own people. There's no going back.
Yeah, absolutely. We've
Exactly.
created our own culture. Going back
Yes.
is like I said earlier, remembering what your grandmama said. That's where you can go back to.
Yeah,
Go back to the
part of
church.
the culture.
What's our distinct
And part
culture
of the
here?
culture.
Go back to the black church, bro.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
And part of the culture that's Magic Congo is still within us. It's still assimilated in. It didn't go nowhere. It's still in there.
No, it
So-
didn't, bro. Why you keep saying that? Like you keep saying like it didn't just transfer into us, bro. Like that's not what happened. We didn't have we weren't fortunate enough to be able to have all of our grandmother, great greats and all of that other stuff pass down information. Why? Because they were part of a slave trade. They were actually part of a system.
It didn't have to be. It didn't have to be traded by your grandparents. You still had
children,
you had
men,
older Africans. You still had older
families.
Africans
So
around
how
you.
would you
It have to
possibly?
be your grandparents like that. It did. Some of the African traditions is. I got a book called Africanism in America.
Well, I'm not talking about your book. If you actually
ain't
let
my book.
somebody
This is a
finish
book
talking, then we
by
wouldn't
some
have
black
no
scholars.
issue.
I'm just saying some of the Africanisms is still in there, bro. Like some shit
I ain't
go
talking
nowhere.
about
This is
some or
with human
nothing, bro.
contact.
I'm talking about
Even
period.
just
I'm
like
talking about point blank. And what the young lady just said is that we already have stuff here. So basically, the ultimate goal is just to start to
they still
assimilate.
were African.
Because
They
we got
still were
people
Well,
on
African.
here
that's
getting
not
away
the
from Africa.
ultimate goal, though.
One mic.
And that's not what I said. I said the ultimate goal for us is to be ourselves, and ourselves is not where we came from. That's not it. We are our own
It's where we
separate
are.
tribe. So where we are is what it is. So what we do as Black people here in America, we have our own way of doing things. I'm not sure how that's not being understood.
Hey, listen. When I tell you it's a white supremacist right now,
I'm talking about
lighting the
man.
motherfucking cigar saying job well done.
Job well
done.
What are we talking like literally?
Hey, Brad, that's not fair.
Black
people
ain't
got the right to
identify
as their own.
I can't even participate in this argument. This shit is infuriating.
It sounds like we're not staying in reality. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah,
When
right.
we
Yeah,
came,
yeah, yeah.
when
You're right.
we got here, you can't expect us to be acting the same way as our ancestors did there when we were enslaved. There's no way in the
I
world.
expect you to act like the white folks that took you, which is
No,
what
but
you're
we
what
saying right
Brad's I
now.
think what
And we
Brad's are probably
basically
pointing
saying
to.
that
we
it's
can't
cool
mimic
for
them
us to
either.
for us to assimilate, but it's also cool for us to push away all of that African culture over there. We don't need none of that. We don't need none of that. We just need to assimilate further into
what we were
Americanism.
talking
And
about.
that is the most white supremacist shit I ever heard.
You missed some of the conversation earlier when we
mic,
were
please.
talking about there is no way that African Americans here that we still don't have some remnants of what our ancestors had. So we are not identical to Caucasian people, just like an Italian is not identical to a Spaniard or whatever. All parts of Americans here are different. We are Americans.
Yeah,
but we
yeah, yeah.
have
She cooking.
You understand what
Yeah,
I'm
she
saying?
going in.
She cooking something.
Or like a Sicilian American. A Sicilian American. I don't know. A Sicilian American is not the same as a Sicilian in Sicily. This is different. You know what I'm saying?
And they're not the same as, and they're not the same as an English American.
Nobody's making that
Yeah,
point. Y'all the only ones saying that.
So why don't you say? Why don't you tell us what you think? Why don't you tell us what you think?
Just let them. Yeah, if y'all
you
want to
can
be white
envision
people
it,
so bad, just let them.
if you can envision it, tell us what you think we should be like right now.
Y'all motherfuckers
What do you think we should be?
I'm gonna start calling y'all
connected to the people you come from.
No, I mean you
so
trying to say like niggas is talking like we've
y'all
never
niggas
been
can't wait to
colonized
be
ever.
crackers. So y'all niggas' name is cheddar cheese from now on. Just go be a cracker.
No, friends, you are exaggerating.
But y'all kicking white supremacist propaganda right now. Y'all don't even know it.
We're not, white supremacy.
Yes, you are. You should go study white supremacy. Because you sound just like go study white supremacy.
We're not saying that we're white. We're not saying that we're white, or we're not saying that we're something. I don't know what
you wish you was.
Go study.
No. You
might not be white, but you damn sure wish you was. That's
Can I say this? Listen. Let me say this.
Hey,
hold on. Let me get this out. All right. Now, everything that we do, you see a difference in it, right? And you have the black church, right? And then look at the organizations that we started. Look at some of the first churches we started, right? The AME, right? And those different things. How can y'all? We're not going to be able to keep everything from Africa, right? But I think we kept the most important things, the things that was able to push us forward, right? In this society. It's certain things that was African that wasn't going to do us wasn't going to help us here. It's a whole different situation. Yep. And those things fell off naturally. The things that we kept was the things that could serve us in this society, right? It blended well. Just look, even if you look at the Nation of Islam, right? The Nation of Islam don't follow regular Islam. It's its own thing. It's African Americans creating their own thing. The black church, the Moor Science Temple, all of these things are ways that Africans created new things out of out of retaining old shit and adding new shit to it that we picked up here, our culinary practices, all of that stuff. How can we don't cook like white folk. Our culinary practices, like the black people, even the way that we cook our rice, we brought that shit from Africa with us. You feel me? Whole different cuisine.
Hey, yeah.
Don't call that shit.
Let me say something real quick. Yep. So let me ask you a question. I'm tripping the fuck out on y'all. So we're celebrating AAVE slang while they took our own language away. Y'all saying everything that we brought we didn't need. They took our name, our identity, our land, and our language. So we don't need the land.
There's no such thing as no AAV slang. It's AAV.
I'm still talking. So we don't need our name,
We don't need our identity. We don't need our language. We don't need our spiritual systems, and we don't need our land. So I just named 5 things that y'all saying. Hold on.
We got all that.
All I hear is motherfucking our rice and our culture and all this other bullshit. But we steady complaining. Hold on. Let me finish. I didn't interrupt y'all.
The women took
y'all, bro. I didn't interrupt y'all. I didn't interrupt y'all getting close to the cracker. All I'm gonna say is this.
Oh my God.
All I'm gonna say is this.
Yeah, you gotta read no. You don't read no books.
I'm still talk, bro. You always trying to insult somebody's fucking intelligence, bro. You act like you the only nigga that read.
But you lack it.
You ain't the only nigga that read. You ain't gotta come in here. You read. Yeah, you read. Hush, nigga. You ain't all. You come in this bitch every time talking about y'all niggas don't read. Don't come in here if you don't read. My point is this: y'all just named the things that we took. What I'm saying to y'all is, I just named 5 things that we couldn't have possibly taken that right now we might need: land, language, name, identity. So y'all tell me now that we don't need that land that they took and that we don't need the language. Go ahead and say that. And then if that's how y'all truly feel and y'all happy with fucking how we wear 3-piece suits.
You didn't have the land when you was over there.
Yeah, what land did they take from you, bro?
Oh man, all right, okay. Y'all got it, bro. Y'all got it, bro.
Reparations.
Y'all got it,
all
bro.
those things that you're talking about fall under reparations. We are owed all those things that was stolen from us. All the trauma and everything.
Just wait till they give it to you, bro. Just wait till they give it to you,
nigga. That's what I'm talking about.
Grass, I'm surprised at you, Grass.
Yeah, I don't give a good goddamn what you surprised at.
I know.
Oh yeah, okay. Because I would never.
Yeah, you read books, but you don't read
I respect you.
Books on this particular subject matter. That's what I'm talking about.
Man,
hey. The sister at Brass yesterday, right? You was reprimanding me. You reprimanded me like 5 times for interrupting the sister. Right.
You're right. You're correct. You are correct.
She was on your side.
You're correct. You are correct. I'm being a hypocrite right now. I'm being a hypocrite right now. I fully admit it. I ain't gonna lie to you. That's why I need to stop talking, because once I get upset, all the rules go out the window, and the rules still apply to me. So y'all
That's okay, because me and her ain't gonna be on the same side tomorrow. You know what I'm saying?
You're probably right.
Yeah, I already know. As soon as I get upset, all the rules go out the window, and that
You're
ain't
in the right car today, but tomorrow she's gonna be riding with Brass. You know what I mean?
No, but I do want to get to the root of this. How come people don't understand that we are our own sort of creation here? I don't understand why people don't get that part.
I accept that, but it wasn't by choice.
Well, yeah, it wasn't by choice. I said that earlier.
Yeah, right. And let me ask you a question. Why wasn't it by choice? What happened that made it not by choice?
You talking about slavery?
The transatlantic slave trade.
Yeah, yes. So we understand that. But what I'm saying is that through everything that we've been through, we are a changed people. That's just what it is. And so, we can't go back. We can't be whitey. It's just, like I said, you have to think about it like other people anywhere on the planet that start living amongst other people and stuff. There is going to be some assimilation. Yes, you came here by force and all of that stuff. Yes, that's true. But even if you came here on your own, like Jamaicans do, other Africans, whoever else come here, there still is assimilation.
If you listen to Haskell, even with the they assimilated to us. Like we assimilated them. They assimilated the white culture. We assimilated them to black culture.
You can't even look at it like that though, bro, because they assimilated to wherever they got sent to too. They also got sent to. They got assimilated to their colonization too. At the same time, we just a piece, a branch of the diaspora. You know what I'm saying? Just we just want some special motherfucker. Every shit. What slavery just in the United States?
Can I add to the conversation? I've been listening and I've been hearing people saying about I can't speak for Black Americans. I'm speaking for Jamaicans. Jamaica in Jamaican, I'm still considered a Jamaican. But if I had a child here, that child is no longer considered a Jamaican to Jamaicans in Jamaica. Because that child does not have the shared experience of the Jamaicans in Jamaica. No, there's a big quarrel between first and second generation Jamaicans in America and native Jamaicans. Because the ones in America are now feeling that they're being deprived of a culture that they look forward to. No, black people, when I say black people, I'm not talking about Africans in general. I'm talking about those with the transatlantic slave experience have been deprived of many things. No, we don't want to feel less than. So as a result of not feeling less than, we oftentimes shock those things and consider themselves less, that we got something better. So we no longer have our language, but we have English. And we may have bastardized it in certain ways to give it our own trend. And we're saying that it is now better than what we had before. We don't have our same cultural dress style. We don't have many of the things that were lost. But many persons know, in order not to feel deprived over generations, start to see that it was better for us, that the culture that we survived in didn't need those things. But other people still carry the language with them. Even if they're not fluent in it, they still romanticize their language. I'm talking about the Italian, the French, the German. They still carry certain concepts that they had from the motherland and the mother tongue. They don't chuck it aside like we readily do. No,
yeah, they have all throughout the diaspora. I wouldn't call it bastardization, though. It was a creolization. Like
same thing,
same thing. Because there ain't no perfect English. It's different English dialects. There ain't no perfect English.
Oh God.
English is English, bro.
We creolize it then, since you want that word.
Just try to carry on.
I know. Because you go to England, just try to carry on. Different dialects.
No, I know where you're coming from, Brass. No, I know where you're coming from. No, I know where you're coming from. Right? No, I know where you're coming from. But this is what I'm saying. We lost so much as a people that we were forced to grab different parts to fill those holes that we have to develop a culture that we could maintain. But it don't make it any better. The culture is a culture that is pulled from many different people, and primarily it comes from white people. Now, if Sheffrey don't want to agree that most of the black culture that we have come from white people, we might play the instrument that we play now is primarily their instrument. We might put our music to it, but the instrument affected how the music come out. The poetry that we speak now is a result of their influence from their language. Right? If you say white people are the greatest people in the world, then white people is the greatest contribution to black culture.
You sound crazy as hell. I don't know the hell. I don't know the hell you come from.
Why don't we use the language? Don't we use the instrument? Don't we dress in the clothes?
Yeah,
so who have the greatest influence in black culture?
You just talking. You just talking.
Who have the greatest influence on black culture? Who have the greatest influence on black culture?
Black American
White people. White people.
Damn, Chef was cooking. That Stu Peas was cooking all day. I blame this shit on Chef.
White people. So you feel good. You feel good as a melanated man to walk around with white culture. Primarily white culture.
Fuck that shit. You crazy. Everybody damn planet is melanated. Ain't no such word as melanated.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Because guess what? You know what I realize?
I don't know what the fuck you mean.
You know what I realize with you? You have never had an original thought.
I don't know what you mean.
You have never had an original thought. Don't finish speaking. You have never had an original thought.
I don't talk like Hidden Colors. I don't talk like Hidden Colors.
You have never had an original thought in this Discord. You've always piggybacked and jumped on somebody else's thing. I have
No, I
never heard
don't.
you with an original thought. Of course you. That's why Brass had to stop him. You have never had.
Man,
I'm
shut
waiting on the
the
day
fuck
when you
up.
have an original thought. You have never had an original thought. You have
Nigga, you
always
sound like
jumped on
motherfucking
other people's
Levy
thing.
Burton. Shut up, nigga.
Yeah. What?
Move on. Move on. This shit's pointless. This shit devolve. We have to devolve stage. Let's get back to the.
You basically say the exact same thing I said, Stupid. That this whole thing is like I don't understand how we not connecting the two together and understanding that it's important for us to want to like not only learn more about African culture,
niggas be
but
glazing
actually
there.
practice. Like it's not what is glazing about wanting to know about the culture that you came from instead of sitting up here
I ain't talking
trying to
about you. I'm just
celebrate and
saying, period.
accept the
Niggas
one
get glazed.
that you in right now. That's the weird shit.
Who you
like,
talking
that's
about?
the part that like you call wanting to learn African culture glazing.
What the fuck I'm talking about, nigga? Shit.
I'm asking you a question, nigga. Who the fuck you talking about? Hold on,
man. Fuck you. Fuck you. Y'all. Fuck you, fat ass nigga.
What the fuck you ain't here for? Fuck, nigga.
Oh shit. God
what
damn.
weird, man.
Now I know what that shit is. That's that fake ass shit. That shit fake as fuck. Every time a nigga talk, what I read, the goddamn it, what you saying can't be true. Cause what I read, shut the fuck up. Dang, you can't have a conversation without fucking quoting some goddamn. Well, in this book on page such and such, goddamn, have a thought. We having a conversation. Oh, nobody in this bitch should be telling nobody else they wrong. Oh, you wrong. What I'm saying is right though. Sound like them other niggas. Ah, damn. My fault, bro. I'm going on mute.
Hey,
No, man, don't go on mute. Don't go on mute.
Culturally, bro. Like I don't understand the issue with wanting to
I'm just
know
saying, niggas don't be
the
tough.
culture you
You know what I'm
come
saying?
from more so than just assimilating to the culture that you're in. Like I don't understand that way of thought. I think that it's important for us to not only learn the cultures, but accept, you know what I'm saying, that there are other parts of our cultures. Like I said, my culture ain't the same. It's Stupid's culture. Like we speak two different dialects of English, like we was just talking about. But at the same time, his struggle is part of my struggle. His people, the people that he come from, had similar struggles to the people that I came from. But at the same time, we both had to assimilate
and use the tools of the white man.
Culture. And
use the tools of the white man. All of us as black people
to take
use
away
the
ours.
tools of
So I don't understand why it's bad for us to want to learn our culture that was taken away from us. It makes no sense to me. That doesn't take away the reality of me living in America and having to be in capitalism and practice capitalism while I'm in capitalism. It doesn't take away that reality. All it does is give me insight to the culture I come from, my ancestors came from. Just like Irish people can do it, Germans can do it, all these other different cultures can do it. We the only ones that were stripped of ours. Now we have the opportunity to learn it, to relearn
You don't think we've been learning it? You don't think we've had people in our past, leaders and stuff, and different folks that have been teaching us about where we came from? You don't think we've been doing that already?
Yes. That's what I don't understand about why would you want to stop that and say, well, no, we don't need to know nothing. We done with the African stuff. We don't need to know nothing else.
Who said that?
Don't know
Who the hell
nothing as
said
it
that?
is. Like if I ask you anything about Africa right now or African culture, you wouldn't be able to tell it to me because you never learned it.
They're missing some of the points that were made because the conversation has been hours long. So I think because we went over all this already, different people have different opinions. I think one person said we don't need African people. Other people said we don't need to be bogged down with more African culture because we have our own